At the age of 12, it's just 12, I joined the gang. 3 months later, I go and I do a mission. They're like, he's a child assassin. Please don't look at his small stature. Like, he's a monster, essentially.
Did you try to shoot him?
I did. Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, I tried. You know, I just aimed and was like, I let it go.
Yeah.
Money started to just pull in. It was crazy. I was making $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a month. I had a penthouse in LA, cherry red M3 BMW, women whenever, drugs whenever. Still, nighttime, rumination. I can't live because I'm so depressed, and I can't die because I'm scared of death.
Did your mom know you tried to take your life?
She didn't know that. Yeah, she didn't know that. Johnny, I realized that I'm nothing and I don't deserve anything, and that God still loves me. The most packed prison is the mind, bro. People think prison is a physical place. Not necessarily. It's spiritual, it's emotional, it's mental. If a gang member like me, genuinely, been shot, been stabbed, shot people, stabbed people, if I can go from that to having full peace with God, then why can't God help you?
What's something that I need to know about you to have context into the conversation we're about to have?
That I'm unorthodox.
Okay.
That I'm a lot of my stuff is built off of just my own testimony and kind of what I've been through, recognizing that, being in prison, that everybody's a prisoner of something, and that, that's why God says the truth shall set them free. So just real and raw, and not really like Bible thumpy, but like studied essentially.
For people that don't know you, give me a little bit of insight into what happened in your youth and how you entered the life you entered.
I was born in East LA, San Gabriel Valley. At that time, it was like what we call the green light era. It was between, like racial tension between Asians and Hispanics. They basically kind of ran the streets at that time. And it was just a very, very tough area. And I grew up in project housing, which is not normal for like Asians. Normally Asians will, there's like that stereotypical, oh, he's good at math and they like anime and stuff like that. I was not that. I was the complete opposite. I think as a kid, I just always wanted to be a gang member. It's because I seen stuff on the streets. I seen back in the day, it was like the Fast and Furious days, the Honda Civics and the fixed up cars, and they had the money and they had the women and they had guns, and it was powerful back then. So for me, growing up in that type of environment obviously influenced me. But what a lot of people don't know, my father was very, very abusive, like alcoholic and abusive. And so he beat on me, beat on my mom, beat on my brother all the time, my older brother. And so I think that kind of hardened me a lot. And the one thing is, I noticed that people in my life, even growing up in the hood, did not have a level of like self-trust. Like, I think I fully trusted myself. So I remember when I was 10 years old, I got jumped because of this, this thing. I was walking down the street, and that's the first time I heard like what they say, getting banged on, meaning, they ask you where you're from, and they're like, what neighborhood you represent. And I'm over here, I'm 10. But I was always kind of a bigger kid. And so I guess I looked maybe 12, 13. And so these guys ran up on me, pulled over, and essentially beat me, And as I was walking home, they had taken my backpack, they'd taken my everything out of my pockets. They took my shoes. And I remember specifically walking home and just being afraid, because I'm like, dang, this traumatic thing just happened to me. I don't know how my parents are going to take it. I was more worried about my dad, because my dad was a type where he was like ruled with an iron fist, was always right no matter what. Typical Asian dad, just like, I'm right. You listen to me. I'll never say I love you. I'll show you that I love you through like providing and stuff like that. There's no affection, right? And so I get home and the door opens, and my mom, she's like, hey, Johnny, what happened to you? Busted nose, busted lip. And obviously it looks like I got into a fight, right? And so I'm like, Mom, don't tell Dad. And as soon as, I said that, pops out from behind her, what happened? And I'm like, oh, nothing, right? And then he's like, where's all your stuff? And I was like, I got into a fight. I got jumped, like these 4 kids beat me up. They were Mexican kids. And he's like, he again, not understanding gang violence, not understanding the culture. he basically was like, "Why are you lying to me?" He just assumed that I was lying to him, and he's like, "Today, I'm just gonna beat that out of you." So I got jumped by these people, and then I got dragged into the room and got beat up by my dad. And I think at that time, 10 years old, I remember distinctly, I can never trust a soul again. I just can't trust my parents, can't trust my mom. Like, and I just felt super pissed. Like, I was just angry. And, prior to that, I was just scared of my dad. But I think that was the pivotal moment that a lot of people don't know changed my life to be like, you know what? I'm not going to trust in you guys and I'm not afraid of you. And, the beating was bad, but I think more than anything, I guess I understand it now, but I couldn't feel safe with them.
Mm.
Right. And so that part of
Can I
my,
ask you a question on
yeah,
that?
yeah. Go
Even
ahead.
your mom?
Yeah. No, definitely not because she would always kind of side with him.
Mm.
I've seen him, for example, I've seen her, for example, beat on my brother because my dad would look at her and be like, "Are you not supporting me?" And she
Mm.
would literally jump on and start hitting us too. So I've seen that. That was something that I kind of understood though. I always kind of had a love for my mom, but I just was kind of like, seeing her as like the victim. I even at the age of 10, I knew that okay, mom, I can't rely on mom. She's literally gonna be siding with dad no matter what, even if she didn't want to.
Yeah.
And she would apologize. Like after doing that, she would let us know, like, you know how your dad is. Like, I have to submit to him. Like, if not, it's just gonna be worse for you guys. Like, it's better that I hit you. I remember her telling me it's better that I hit you than him hitting you
Mm.
because, it's kind of like she would be a little lighter. And so, it was at the age of 10, I started to get into more trouble. I think during that time there was that through that shift I was able to then start like fighting and just being more crazier. Like I remember sharpening a compass. You remember the little compasses and
Yeah.
and the pointy part, sharpening it on the ground because I would get jumped. I mean, the areas that I lived in, San Gabriel Valley, it just you couldn't walk down certain streets. It was the hood, right? And so they would beat me up and beat my brother up, and they would do all kinds of stuff to us, put gum in my hair. I just remember a lot of this stuff. So I'm like, I'm never going to, allow this to happen to me again,
Mm.
And so I would fight back to, 1-on-3, whatever it is, 1-on-2. I would just do it. And yeah, I started to kind of get, I guess, not infamous, but started to get noticed for that. People were like, "Oh, Johnny's the one that he'll fight, like no matter what." And what's cool about my mom, which I appreciate her for, is that back then they would have these like governmental programs. Like people would come in and teach Muay Thai, they would teach Kempo karate, they would teach these things to kind of help the at-risk youth, which was us. But I remember this one teacher, he was basically training me and he did Muay Thai, he did, karate and things like that. And so he kind of taught me how to fight basically.
In this setting, was there anybody that you respected?
I remember man, this is crazy, but I remember a drug dealer in our neighborhood. I respected him. He had everything. He had, the women, he had the drugs. I smoked my first blunt with him. And he had like a lot of favoritisms towards me. Him and another guy named Vince. Vince, I super respected because he was about 3 or 4 years older than me, and he was a skateboarder. So he was just one of those kids who was really like California'd out, right? Like, dude, like where everyone was a gangster, he was like the anomaly, and he just kind of skated and would have the etnies and the DC shoes and, the Spitfire, all that other stuff I remember. And he kind of got me into it a little bit. So I would skate a little bit and then but he was probably him and that guy were the two people that I would respect. And yeah, I guess the Muay Thai coach too. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you remember the first time you got beaten?
I do. I think I was 4 or 5 years old.
Mm.
Yeah. I got beat up by my dad because I remember him kicking my mom. So he kicked my mom like 2 or 3 times on like on her hip or like her leg. And I remember like I just got mad because I didn't understand what was happening. And so I ran and I just like grabbed my mom and then
Mm.
he just like punched me. And I remember falling and then he kicked me a couple times like in the stomach and the chest. And then my mom kind of like shielded me. I remember that. That was the first time that was kind of like traumatizing. And then after that, everything was honestly like a blur because I remember just him beating me randomly when he would get drunk. I actually remember him beating my mom more than him beating me, which is kind of weird. But I think it was because it was like my mom screaming and just like more like heinous with he was more rough with my mom than he was with us. And I remember like he would drink and then he would love to sing, like do karaoke, and then he would dance. And he would have my mom dance with him. I remember in the living room. And as soon as my mom would get tired or like not want to do it, that's when the anger would arrive. It was like clockwork every single time. And yeah, he would beat on her.
Do you get angry?
Do I get angry?
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
So do you think that's a trait that you learned from him? Like, were you angry at this time? Would they describe you as like an angry kid?
To be honest, I was angry before that. I genuinely think, if I'm being honest, I was born that way, bro. And even as a kid, like 5 years old in kindergarten, like I would fight. I would fight with the kids in the projects. I would fight with kids in, kindergarten. I got suspended pretty much, or, I think it was in the second grade. I mean, it was just bad.
At what age did you see this gang leader?
Yeah. So at the age of 12. So I started to fight. And then, at the age of 12, I kind of started to hop off the porch. I would start stealing, I was straight up a klepto. At 10 years old, I was just stealing things from my parents, stealing food stamps, whatever it was that I could get my hands on. And I would
get what? What did you want out of it?
I think I just did it. Like I didn't have a lot of stuff. So I would steal, and I always kind of had a hustle mentality. So for example, I remember like going to the Goodwill and like, those red flyer wagons.
Yeah.
Like I would, I stole that. And then I was like, all right, what can I get next? Like I would then, even like the toys. I remember there was a bucket of toys. I stole like $20 from somebody and I bought the whole bucket. It was a huge bucket. It was like a 50-gallon tote or whatever. And it had all these toys, but they were broken. Like Hulk was missing an arm type of thing. And so I would go and then I would get like Elmer's glue and I would try to like piece different things together and then just sell them to the kids in the PJs, in the projects. And so I always kind of had that mindset. So I don't know if it was because I just loved money or if but I was very like hustler. Right. I was like, all right, I got to get this. And yeah, I'd like to have a little bit of money to go and like buy certain things, whether it was like Pokemon cards or whatever. But then at the end of the day, I would also steal that too.
Yeah.
So I would just steal everything.
Did you have any friends that you were doing this stuff with?
Yeah. We had like a little crew. It was crazy. It was 3 of us.
Was that like a sense of family that you felt like you were missing?
Kind of. But we would fall out because I think even as a young age, we were greedy, right? When you have nothing, you're not sharing with people. And me and my brother did not have a good relationship. My brother actually I joined the gang first and he joined after, but he was also part of the gang, but he was always a good kid. Like, I think because in the Asian culture, I hated on him because he was the oldest. And in Asian families, like the elder is always right. And he's like the gem of the family. And especially if it's a boy, right? So he was first and I felt like he got a lot of attention. Like he got beat, but he never got beat as bad as I did. And I remember my dad never telling him like, I disown you. I never wanted you, but he would stand over me genuinely and he would punch me and be like, I never wanted you. And so, I think there was a sense of community. Yes. But it was always temporary. It was not like, yeah, these are my boys forever. Like I would love them. I would fall in love, but then they would do something dirty.
Was that from ages like 12 to 15?
Yeah. So at the age of 12, it's just 12. I joined the gang. 3 months later, I go and I do a mission, as they say, because they have to initiate you. And
How did you know that this was the gang you wanted to join?
Well, that was a gang that was very well known in my neighborhood till this day. They're the biggest Chinese gang. They had ties to the mafia, and even my parents know them because the name of the gang in Chinese literally translates to like young Chinese or like Chinese youth. Right. And so everybody knows them. They're crazy. They were killers. So, and when you spoke that name, it genuinely like struck a lot of fear in the community, specifically the Asian community. I would see them. They would be thugging. They would be riding in the streets. They would be driving their cars. And that was the people that I kind of looked up to. But I had that fear, but it was like a reverence, more of like respecting them versus like fearing them, And then at the age of 12, I got banged on. So I remember I was just walking in the streets and they banged on me. Where are you from? And they had pistols pointed and I was like, oh, and I literally froze. And so those guys ended up becoming my friends, obviously, and telling me, "Hey, you want to hang out?"
No, obviously.
Yeah.
How does that change?
So
You go from this fear dynamic to
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
friendship?
So because okay, I say obviously because people in my area, they all know whether it's the essays, Mexicans, shout out to you guys, or the Asians or the blacks, like that's how it starts.
Hmm.
No one ever just comes up to you, "Hey, how you doing? Want to join a gang?" That's not how it is. They bang on you because they want to see if you have that grit, if you're tough, right? And so the obvious thing is that they will test you. They will push your limits. Some people get jumped. Like I know people from other neighborhoods that can't they lived in the community and they would get jumped every single day and forced into the gang,
Hmm.
right? And so there's a lot of gangs like that in the San Gabriel Valley who will force you into the hood. And so my gang was like that. It was like anyone who's young, anyone who's like who can fight and this and that, like, they want to join. So they want them to join. So one of the kids who was in the back seat, I knew who he was because we went to the same school. And he was the one that probably was like, "Yo, like this kid right here, he fights, like I know him." And so they banged on me. And when they pulled out the guns, obviously I was like scared, but at the same time, I kind of just was like, I know this kid, so I don't know why that, like I'm sure he's gonna tell them something. I just knew that even at 12. And then sure enough, when we get in there, he's like, "Yeah, bro, we have, whatever together." Like, and then I'm like, "Oh, that's true." So from then on, I start to, meet the people. Like, they took me to a liquor store. The dude, I think he was 18 or 19 at that time. He gave me money and it was like the most money I've ever seen, right? It was an old $100 bill. And I was like, dang, this guy's giving me hella money for what? $100 at 12 years old is kind of crazy, right?
Hmm.
And so at that time, I just kind of felt this sense of like, dang, this guy kind of cares. But still, I wasn't really sure because there was that fear factor, right? And I think I was just relieved to be able to like feel accepted in some type of way. But it was like a loop because I remember distinctly, I felt like scared, obviously from the gun, and them pulling the gun. And then it went to like, dang, these guys are cool. But then it went to, this might not last, right? It's like,
They might turn on you.
yeah, just like everyone else has, right? And so when he said, "Bro, nothing in life is free," right? And he goes, "You're gonna have to put in work." I didn't understand what that was. I was like, "What do you mean put in work?" Right? And I'm like, and he's like, "So we're gonna have to do some stuff." And I was like, "All right." That day we didn't do anything. We just went to the liquor store. It was chill. We met the OGs. And then they were just like, "All right." And I remember like doing a boxing match with them. It was like we all like had like, boxing gloves and we were just like fighting each other, the youngins, right? There was like four other people that were getting courted into the gang, including me. And so we had to fight each other. "Oh, keep your head up." And they're like teaching us, but they saw that I had already kind of been trained. So I was like winning and they're like, "Dang, okay, this kid, we like him already." And right there, again, that feeling of, wow, all right, like they see me. They know I can fight and whatever. But I think what really traumatized me was when they didn't ask me to fight. They asked me to shoot, basically. And
Hmm.
so that was the first time
They
they
ask you to
gave
shoot another person?
basically, yeah, to put in work. And so I was like, "Oh, this is what it means to be to put in work." It's not as simple as, "Oh, I'm just gonna beat people up." It's like, no, there's levels to this, right? So they gave me like it was it was like a gang starter kit. Seriously. They were like, "All right, what clothes do you wear?" "Okay, no, you're gonna wear Cortezes. These are our colors, black and red." And and I'm just like, what the heck? Gave me a flannel that was way oversized. It looked like a blanket on me. All these little things. And I was like, all right, cool. Okay, they gave us black gloves, right? They gave us lokes, things to just kind of like bandanas to like cover your face. And I'm just like, this is crazy. And so this is what you're gonna do. It's not about getting them, but it's about showing them like we don't play, blah blah blah, and you represent this. And I'm like, all right, cool. And so I remember them like, what are we gonna call this guy, right? Like, because everyone gets a name. And back in my day, you didn't like create your own name. Like you had to earn something, right? If a guy was like limpy, it's because he, walked with it was like little things like that, right? And so they didn't know. And they were like, "I don't know, man." They were like throwing out names out there, whatever. So we went and we put in work. And after that, I remember, there was three of us in the back seat, and one of the homies was like, "All right, so you're gonna, you see these guys over here, you're gonna blast at them, you're gonna buck at them." And I'm like, "Okay." But there was one pistol, so they were like, "Who's gonna do it?" so they wanted to see obviously who was going to actually do it. And obviously the other two were scared and I was scared too. And I remember feeling like my heart in my stomach. And I was like, oh man. But then what I was more, I think, afraid of was like the rejection of like
Mm.
them calling me like a female dog or like saying I was a weenie or a girl, right? So I was like, man, I'll do it. And I remember grabbing it. And I don't even like I don't even think I claimed. So what they said was you're supposed to claim. I'm from this gang and then you let it go. I just let it go, right? And so after that, I was like, I finished it. I remember shaking. I remember feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm going through all these emotions. Am I gonna go to jail now? What if we get caught? To then them cheering.
Did you hit somebody or did you shot at somebody?
Oh, we shot at somebody. Yeah. So and I didn't hit anybody, but thank God. But they were like basically like that's what it's
That's
about.
what you need to do. Did
Yeah.
did you try to shoot him?
I did. Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest. I tried. I just aimed and was like, I let it go.
Yeah.
And yeah, they were like cheering, bro. It was crazy. Like, yeah, that's right, bro. And
Yeah.
I'm over here like, am I what the heck happened? It was
Yeah.
just purely adrenaline. And then they were just like, yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. And I was like, man, like, and they're like, what do you want to do? Right? They just like, what do you want to do now? I guess it was like a reward. And I was like, I want to eat. I'm hungry. And so that's when they were like, oh, you're mental. Like there's something wrong with you because you just like, shot at somebody and then you're like, let's go get food. Right. And so they called me ill after like mentally ill, like, oh, this guy's ill. And so, I kind of had that moniker or whatever. And then after that, it kind of leveled up. And this is what I eventually got locked up for was, it was 6 of us. We ended up robbing this person. And then I didn't know at that time that when you transport somebody like from one place to another place, even if, because when we robbed him, he was a drug dealer. We were like, we know you have a lot more stuff. So take us to your house. And he drove us to his house. That's actually kidnapping, right? Even if we're not like, I'm thinking kidnapping is like tying them up, like, by force. But it's like, no, kidnapping is if you force a person somewhere where they don't want to go, straight up kidnapping. So they threw that on us. And, they were basically like saying like, yo, you're the youngest one, essentially. If you take the fall, you'll get like a couple months or whatever it was, which at the end of the day wasn't true, obviously. And then at that time we had gotten RICO'd, right? I'm not sure if you know what RICO is, but it's
for the audience.
Yeah. So it's basically what they use to take down the mafia. Right. And so they labeled us as like the Chinese mafia with ties to triads and all that mafia stuff. So I joined at the worst time, obviously, because right when we go to, court, they're like, I'm thinking, okay, I'm 12. The big homies are telling me, you're going to get a couple months. You're a kid. Like, they're not going to trip on you. Man, when I went in there was a DA, the prosecutor. They were like, this guy's from this gang. They were putting up photos of all my big homies. This guy murdered this guy. This guy's in here for life without. This guy's in here for murder. This guy's in, and they're just showing it. And I'm like, I know all these people. And they're like, he's a child assassin. They're like saying stuff like that. They carry the guns. They use these young kids to do all the murders, et cetera, et cetera. And so, please don't look at his small stature. Like he's a monster, essentially. And so they sent me because of that to California Youth Authority, but they dropped the charge from, robbery and kidnapping to dissuading a witness for the benefit of a gang. Right. Because what I said to the person after was, if you say something, we'll smoke you. Right. Which is, you're trying to make them not snitch and hurt them. And so they end up giving me 4 years. And at California Youth Authority, we go to SRCC, Southern Reception Center, which is where the processing for everybody. And then from there, you get shot out. I ended up going to Nellis, YA, California Youth Authority out there in Whittier, just closed now. But, right when you get there, I'm over here like, dude, this is crazy. And I remember.
Can you tell me in this, what was your parents' reaction to that?
To be honest, my mom was crying. My dad, I think, was too drunk. Like, he just was drunk every single day. So he was pissed, but he wasn't like.
He'd already casted you out.
I think my mom was in shock. So my dad, he didn't. I honestly was very estranged from him from then on, because even throughout prison, I've spent 13 years, he never visited me, never wrote me, never like really even picked up the phone, like, and when he would, he'd give it to my mom. It was just like, he was just on his own thing, right? So my mom, however, I remember was crying. She was supportive. She was trying to like come, and she didn't believe it. I remember the cops telling, my brother told me this because they came, and they were like, "Do you know what Johnny was wearing? Like
Yeah.
what he's doing?" And my mom's like, "No." And he's like, "Oh, he's part of the gang." And my mom, like, she's like, "No way. These guys are like murderers." He's like, "My son's not like that. Like, sure, he fights, he's rowdy, but he's not."
Were you hiding this from them that whole
Of
time?
course, of course, because it wasn't like I needed to hide. I think she was so preoccupied with my dad,
Yeah.
and I was just coming home, and like there's times where I just would run away for like a couple days. So it wasn't really hard to hide from them. I think they were just not, they were like disconnected.
Yeah.
I realized my mom was manic depressant at that time.
Did your dad still try to beat you during that season?
Through that season,
You were
well,
probably big enough. I was just imagining that you're like, I'm gonna take you on if he tried.
well, yeah. Well, when I came back home, so after getting out of prison, after getting out of youth authority, which is a juvenile ward, I came back 16 years old, and he tried one time, but I pulled a gun on him. So
Mm.
he was beating my mom, and I remember just telling him like, "Yo, dad, like I've been through a lot of stuff." Because when you go to California Youth Authority, it's straight up gladiator school. You're fighting every single day. I fought like for, I think I had like 40 plus fights within those 4 years, right?
Mhm.
Just fighting and fighting and fighting. And then you develop this thing called a Ramfla, which is a car, and you have friends who they'll catch your runbacks. Meaning, if you fight me, you'd have to fight like 6 of my other friends
Mm.
back to back to back. So it kind of slowed down after that. But in the beginning, you have to prove yourself. You're literally fighting, I'm sorry to say, but kids in there are like raping other kids and crazy stuff, right? So it's not just juvenile hall, it's not just camp. A lot of people know YA babies who are watching this. It's crazy. It's really crazy. And so I come out and I have this mindset of like, okay, it's only me for myself. Yeah.
Can I ask on that though?
Yeah.
Did you were you victimized by any of that, or did
No.
you defend yourself?
No, I defended myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you take seniority in that? Did you try to take more status?
No, it was more of just like, in there, it's like it doesn't matter if you win or lose, it's just fighting, right? So the people that got sadly taken advantage of were the people that didn't fight back.
Mm.
So I was obviously fighting. I was bigger frame, thank God. But I've seen a lot of people is because they didn't. So it wasn't really a seniority type of thing. It wasn't, oh, I did that and because of that, I can do it. I think it was just kids who didn't know, who thought like this is what gangbanging is, who had raging hormones, who were just like doing evil things. Bro, it was bad. It was bad. And so I knew a kid who killed himself because of that, right? And so, yeah, I was like, I'm not going out like that. This is straight up survival mode. And I think
For 4 years.
Yeah.
Was there anything you learned other than just like survival? Or was it just like a kind of a blur because every day was kind of the
No,
same?
it was just survival. And I don't think I mean, being 12, you're not thinking about the next day anyways, right? As kids naturally. But what was hardwired to me was like PTSD, situational awareness for sure, because things would crack. I think everybody in there had to manipulate one way or another to be able to survive. So it was all just survival mode. I remember everything was very heightened. And yeah, it just became the norm of like, okay, when this guy rolls up, you're going to bang on him. If he's from this gang, you're going to take off on him, And again, a lot of mind games. YA is all about mind games. Anyone who knows, they know it's throwing a cuete, as they say, throwing a F, like they're just saying evil things and playing with your mind, essentially. All these kids would do this.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Were
it
you
was
cold?
bad.
Were you emotional in that? Like you say PTSD, like did that get to you or did you become kind of hardened through it?
No, super hardened for sure.
Yeah.
I think in those environments I thrived, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because I knew like how to read people. Oh,
Yeah.
this person likes that. Okay, that person's weak here. Okay, this guy's kind of weak about his food or whatever.
Yeah.
So
Did you get out in a positive way? Did you feel like was there any redemption arc for you or you were just like, no?
No way. I got out and I had a prideful heart. I was like, man, I went to YA. And I remember the OGs were like, dang, Johnny went to YA. YA is not, it's crazy, right? And it's like, but there was also a lot of hatred, I think, where people would be like, calm down, just because you went to YA, that's nothing. Like I've been to prison, because a lot of the older homies go to prison. Prison's way crazier than YA, blah, blah. And I'm just like, it just became like a competitive sport for me almost, right? That's the best way to put it. It's like, oh, you think you're crazy? Like, I'll just one up you, you know? So, and I was just heightened in there. You would learn the 2-second rule essentially, where if somebody disrespects you, or even if you feel disrespected, you have 2 seconds to take off on them. So I would be like that. Oh, you disrespected me? Boom. It would be violence right away. And so in this way, I think I learned that. It was like hardwired into me to just fight people, because I realized that violence is a universal language.
So you come home
yeah.
and you see your dad
Yeah.
position himself to beat up your mom.
Yeah. And I warned him. I was like, hey, I remember telling my dad, that's disrespectful. Don't do that anymore, blah, blah. And my dad's like, oh.
Who are you to talk about respect?
Yeah. He's like, exactly. He's like, who? Oh, big man, you
Yeah.
know, you think you're so crazy and blah, 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 blah. And then I remember my brother, he was like, bro, Johnny, like, chill, you know, like, it's just how dad is, bro. Like, you know, and it's mom's fault. I think my brother had some resentment for my mom, but he's like, it's mom's fault for wanting to stay with him. Like, just leave it at that, bro. You know what time it is. And I was like, my brother didn't know I was strapped, you know? So I was like, the next time he does this, I'm just gonna blow his ass away. And then my brother was like, what are you talking about? You can't do that. So it happened that night, you know, he got drunk. He was doing his little same routine, you know, singing and all that. And I was like, all right, here he comes. And sure enough, my mom was like, oh, I'm tired and I don't want to. He's like, you're tired. And he just backhands her, boom. And then that's when I step in. And then I just remember pointing the pistol at his face, and he was like shocked. He's like, what the heck? I think he sobered up right away. It was like, whoa. And then my brother stepped in the middle of that and was like, yo, Johnny, chill. Like, we can't do this, you know? Again, my brother has always been very respectful and like traditional. So he's like, bro, you can't do this. Like, what the hell are you doing? I was like, whatever. And from then on, I pretty much ran away. I was out for literally 67 days. I remember to the T, 67 days, 2 months and a week. And then I caught my second case and I ended up going back to prison.
What'd you do?
2 counts with assault with deadly weapon. So I shot at people, 2 people. And so they charged me with that. Originally they charged me with attempted murder, and then shooting at an inhabited vehicle. But I pled out and got 2 counts of assault with deadly weapon. And they gave me 2 strikes. And they're like, you're going to go there, you're going to do 10 years, 85%, 8 years and some change. And so this was, again, right when I got out of YA. They used that against me. They used a gang affiliation, gang injunctions, gang profile, all that. And they were like, this guy is just a monster. Look at him. Like, he's from this gang. He's out 67 days. He's on probation and he's still running amok and he's still doing this stuff, right? And so I end up going into prison, and I remember just freaking out. I think that was the first, I'm not even in YA, where I had like a crazy panic attack, walls caving in, because I was like, this is the big dog, like this is the big leagues now, you know? And my friends would like clown me, you know? I remember like, oh, there you go, now you're gonna be in there, you're gonna be a little boy. I was 16 going on 17, and he's like, watch what happens to you, you know? It's
Do you feel
crazy.
pride doing it because now you have the competitive advantage? Like now you're like, I did one up you?
Kind of, but at the same time, I only felt that, I think, a little bit later, because when I went to go program, I was like scared. Obviously, anyone who goes to prison and says they're not, that's BS, right? Obviously. So I get up in there and I'm like scared, but yeah, it's just nervousness. And then I freak out, and then, you know, they pull me out of there, and I go from reception to the main line, right? General population. And it was in general population that I started to realize it was a culture shock, because in YA, you fight, you beat up people, you know, it's, if you're in a gang, rival gang, you're fighting. That's it. It's gang banging. In prison, it's not about gang banging. Yes, there's gangs, but you have to literally come together as a race, at least in California. I had issues with that. I looked at someone, I was like, that's a rival gang member. And so when I was walking up, the guy who laced me up, which is a guy who, you know, he's going to like represent basically and be like, hey, these are the rules. You go with these people, you follow this car, et cetera, et cetera. So he was one kind of giving me game. And I remember telling him, hey, bro, that fool's from this gang. Like, I got to take off on him. And he's like, no. That's not how it works in here. And I'm like, what? And he's like, it's actually us against them. And he's like pointing at all the other races. And I'm just like, wait, so I'm not like, I just I couldn't fathom that. For me, it was my hood against everybody else. But now it came where it was like, no, it's not your hood anymore. It's your race against everybody else.
Different tribe.
Yeah. And I'm over here like, and I remember phoning home to the homies like, hey, what? And they're like, yeah, like, that's right. You have to program. If you don't, they're going to take care of you. And I'm like, what do you mean? They're like going to stab you and roll you off the yard. And I'm like, what? So I can't even, but I know this guy. This guy didn't shot at, my cousin. Like, what do you mean? No, you can't do that. And that was very difficult for me. I think that's when I was like pissed.
Yeah.
And I had this inkling of like, I think I got tricked because I'm cool with us against everybody else. Now it's like, no, you got to be cool. It's like, wait, but I was literally shooting at these people when I was on the streets, and now I got to share, spread with them. And it was very culture shock. I was literally mind blown. I remember, and I was like pissed. And so there would, OGs would tell me, man, youngster, like, chill, bro. Like, you got to calm your YA. Like, you're a YA baby. That all of you guys struggle with this. It was the same feeling of when I was like, I can't trust my dad anymore. Was I can't trust any of you guys either. Look at this. Like, that's the enemy. He done shot at my friend. He done killed this guy. And I'm over here and I got to be cool with him and cordial with him because you guys say so. I felt the same feeling. And it was like traumatic again. And I was like, I'll be honest, I cried. I remember crying in my cell at nighttime because I was so mad. And I was like, why? Why do I have to be cool with
Because the only
these
sense of
people?
family you had, you now, like,
Yeah.
you're going for their enemy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so from then, I just was like, I don't trust anybody but myself. Right. And it was the same repeated cycle of, I can't trust y'all. I'm going to trust myself. And I think looking back at it now, my biggest issue is trusting in myself fully. Right. And I was fully surrendered to myself, and me being imperfect led myself to that path of destruction. Right. So I don't think there's anything wrong with self-confidence, but I had over like self-confidence because I couldn't trust anybody else. And I think trusting in yourself without truth and without guidance leads you to that path that I walked, straight up destruction. It was recklessness. And I'll give you an example. I was 16 when I got out of prison. I'm sorry, 16 when I got out of YA. And I remember seeing an enemy on the streets and I banged on him. Oh, big bad chain gang. And he's just like, what? Bro, you don't want it. I got it on me. That's all he said. But I remember my mind, because I was a YA baby, was like, he's not going to do nothing. Boom, I cracked him. And then, he like stumbled and then he shot me. So he shot me in my hip. It was like the first time it kind of humbled me. Because prior to that, you're in this stage where you're like invincible, right? I went to YA. I done won my fights. I done stood 10 toes. I'm from this gang that we have no enemy. We have no rivals. I'm sorry. We have no
equal rivals.
Equal. Like, we literally are just the top dog. And this is no disrespect, but it's true. And no one, like, we have no friends. Everyone's our enemies, right? And so I just had that confidence of like, yeah, no one's gonna do. Even if he has a gun, he wouldn't dare, because the repercussions that's gonna happen and follows, people will spin and they'll shoot up the house and they'll do all this stuff. But he ended up doing that, and I remember like fainting. Lost a lot of blood. It felt like a linebacker tackled me, and I just remember like, yeah, it was all bad, right? And so, I think from then on, I remember, and I never shared this with people, is I felt that sense of like, nobody has my back, so therefore I have to have my back, right? And I think that actually did worse for me than anything, looking back now. And so I ended up going in prison. I finally, after a year, start to program correctly. Okay, I'm not tripping on people anymore. Okay, he's the enemy, whatever.
You're there for 8 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there and I'm like, all right, I'll start to program. I'll start to be cool and, respectful and cordial, because I would just kind of ignore people, and like, I would never disrespect them, but I wouldn't also respect them. Right. It was just like, I got to do this because we have to. Right.
Yeah.
And so, I end up meeting a person who was well respected on the yard, but he was Muslim. And so he's an older dude. He was a lifer. He had gotten, transferred from another prison into our prison, I guess, because his points dropped. But a lot of the, from 4-yard to 3-yard, essentially on the 3-yard, level 3, a lot of these guys were also in 4 and then came down, right? And so he was Muslim and just militant, but very respectful. The way he carried himself was not like a killer. And he was in there for murder, obviously, but he was like very like, hey, excuse me, how are you, sir? Like just very loving. And I was like, yo, what's up with this guy? Like, I like the way he moves. And even with me, he's like, all right, youngster. And he knew a lot about history. He's like, you know, Mao Zedong. And I'm just like, what the heck, bro? You're like hella studied. Doesn't look like a gang member, highly educated. And so I look at him and I'm like, yo, who is this dude? And the homies are like, oh, he's, you know, from this gang, but like he's Muslim now. And he's just a solid homie. Like he's cool. Right. And I'm like, okay. Every morning, you know, I would kind of like walk up, you know, near his cell. Like we'd kind of go around and walk up, and he would be praying. His cell was super clean. And I'm just like, bro is just locked in, straight up locked in. And so I kind of started to talk to him, you know, hey, bro,
Was
like
he a part of a different like
race.
race or gang?
Well,
Yeah.
he's part of the so in prison there's the others.
Yeah.
There's the brothers, right? The blacks, there's Mexicans, and then there's whites, right? So others is everybody that's not part of those main 3 or 4, right?
Yeah.
And so he was an other. I think he was Middle Eastern, but you know, he had to run. Middle Eastern people ran with us. So they had the choice to run with other people, but most of them ran with us, right? Iranian or whoever, they would run with us. And so I would just ask him questions. I would be like, yo, how are you so like chill? And you know, and he's like, yeah, man, it's because I'm Muslim, bro. Like, have you heard of Islam? And again, I didn't really know much about that, right? I'm a 16-year-old kid, haven't really seen the world. I'm like, what the heck is that? Right. And so he starts to explain, you know, everyone needs to have some kind of guidance, you know, and you're not the master of your destiny, actually. You're a person who has to, you know, submit to something. You know, there is God. And I'm like, oh, well, I was Buddhist, but like I never practiced it. And so I think I'm more of an atheist, if anything. He's like, brother. And he's like, I'll train you. I'll guide you. I'll teach you what it is so you can be like a strong man. Cause we're men at the end of the day. Again, I'm over here 17, 18 years old. Like that sounds pretty cool, you know? And he's like, and you can request to move in with people. So he's like, put in a request, move in with me, you know? And he's like, or I'll move in with you. And I was like, all right, cool. He ended up being my cellie. And so for those 3 years, I ended up becoming Muslim. I would pray 5 times a day. I was trying to learn Arabic from him. He was teaching me, you know, what a hadith is. And he was basically like my imam, right? Which is like my leader. And his whole family full of imams and all that, studied all that. And so one thing we never talked about was like what he did, because that's just something you don't really talk about in prison, right? Like it's kind of shameful. And so he was in there.
Is it like a don't know me for the worst of me?
No, I think it's just it's a multitude of things. Again, it's survival, because if somebody knows you, there are times where people get jealous. Oh, you're short to the house, which means you're about to go home. And some people who are lifers, or LWOP is life without parole, they might do certain things. Not everyone, but there are people who get jealous. So it's just smarter to just not talk about those types of things. It's just out of respect. I end up just following this guy, and I'm like, all right, I trust him. If anything, I would say he was one of the guys I trusted the most.
And this is the first person after you were like, it's me against everybody else. This is the first person you said, this is my guy.
Yes. Yeah. Because I felt like, number one, I think it was opportunistic. I felt like I wanted what he had. He had the respect on the yard. Everyone loved him.
And peace. And peace
as well. Oh, you know, what I thought was peace. And he was just an amazing dude. I was like, bro's cool. I'm sitting here and I see this person and I'm like learning everything from him. And he's like, you should study, you should read, and you should really like learn to like understand other religions to be able to see, you know, what they're talking about. Yeah. So the one thing that blew my mind, I remember, was he's like, the Muslims, they have to read the books prior to the Quran, which is the Torah, and the Injil, which is the New Testament, the book that was given to Jesus. And I was like, wait, what? So you guys have to read the Bible? And he's like, pretty much. He's like, a real Muslim will read the Bible. And I was like, what? So I remember he made me like read the Bible. And I was like, what the heck is this? It was like calligraphy to me, right? I was like, I couldn't understand it. And again, I just respected him for that. Like, dang, he doesn't just bash religions. But then he would tell me, this is why Christians are bad. They're hypocritical. They just, you know, like a carpet, you know, they shake off like the dust, and they're like, you know, we're clean. It's like, no, you got to clean it and deep clean it and really like go into it. And you got to, good deeds outweigh bad deeds, and you got to do all this stuff. And so he had kind of fed into me that they were hypocrites, that, they lied and they would judge other people for doing the same thing that they did. And it was just bad, right? And then he talked about Catholics.
No lies.
Right? So I'm like, dang. But after that, I saw myself as like a Christian slayer, right? I was like, man, I took that gangbanging energy and I brought it into religion. Oh yeah, like, and I always had a mouthpiece, so I would like think about debating, and I would look at all the flaws, of like this person. For 3 years, I was really trained and was Muslim, but the one thing I noticed was, even though, and he had kind of forced me to get my GED, forced me to go to counseling. There was resources in there where you can do counseling, and I went through all that, bro, and I still felt emptiness inside of my heart. I just couldn't understand it. I was like, why am I so empty still? On the
What do you mean by empty?
It was this feeling of like legit just a hole in my heart. And it usually would visit me at nighttime. I would sit in my cell and I would it was like rumination, right? I would think about my thoughts and I would play these mental memories in my head where I failed, and I would play I would get anxiety because I would think about the future. I'm like, all right, I am going to get out of here one day and I don't got nothing to my name. Like my homies would send photos and they would send me, they got a new car, and I'm like, dang, they got a Mercedes. And I'm like, I can't do that. Like, I don't even know how to push. I don't know how to hustle. And I know they're not going to help me like that, like, to each their own. Right. And so I'm like, how am I going to do that? And I would spiral. And then that spiral would lead me to just be like, dang, I went to prison. I suck. What's wrong with me?
Did you feel guilt?
To be honest, I didn't feel guilt. It was more of, again, opportunistic and selfish. Dang, I want to be top dog. I want to be amazing, and I can't. I'm not going to be able to. And then I'm like, oh, maybe I just came to the conclusion, maybe I'm just here and I'm feeling this because I'm here. Like, look at my environment. It's prison. Like, you're going to have some kind of depression, because I didn't know what depression was. I was like, maybe this is what depression is. I don't know. Right. And so again, I would talk to him about that. Oh, depression is a luxury. It's in your mind, and you don't have depression. You're strong. You're a soldier, blah, blah, all this stuff. And even though I'd be like, yeah, I would try. But again, thoughts at night come back. Same feeling. What the hell is wrong with me? Why am I like this? Man, I already ran this like a million times. All right, I'm going to stop thinking about it. The more I try to stop, the more the thoughts amplified. Didn't understand it, right? And so I was like, okay, my hope is I'm going to get out of prison and I'm going to make a lot of money, and I'll be okay. So from then on, I think me and him had a falling out because I had seen a couple of things in the Quran that I felt were wrong. So on the yard, I'm over here like, we roll child molesters and rapos off of the yard. But yet when you study it enough, it's like he's with this guy this guy, our prophet, is with the girl at 6 and then consecrates the marriage at 9. Like, it doesn't make sense. I'm supposed to follow a prophet who's doing the things that we would kill people for in here. And I think that's where the rift started between me and him. It was like, hey, don't ask you're asking too many questions.
Do you not feel the contradiction of like the actions of participating in the group, despite the fact that the Quran's talking about
peace and
other things like that?
At that time, I think the way he taught me was that, it's not to make people submit, but it is okay to defend yourself. And it was always, I had questions like that too, but it was more of like, no, the peace aspect is you can't force people to be Muslim. But other than that, if they disrespect you, you can defend yourself straight up.
Yeah.
And especially if they disrespect the prophets and Allah, it's over for you, right? So that's how kind of he taught me. And he didn't really have an answer for me, right? It was along the lines of that. And then also, I think there was another thing that I was mad about was in chapter 4 of the Quran, talks about, striking your woman with force. And so, I grew up my whole life watching my mom get beat. And so I'm like, yo, what is this? Oh no, it means to tap lightly, to tap gently. But then we're learning Arabic, right? And so it's like, no, it doesn't mean tap lightly. It literally means to strike with force. And so that was something. And he's like, brother, you cannot get arrogant. You're being arrogant. And I was like, yo, this feels exactly what Christians do, where it's like, you question something and they're like, no, don't question that. Like you're not God. You need to listen and blah, blah, blind faith, whatever. And so I started to see the chinks in the armor, if you will. And we had to just separate, and I denounced it. I was like, you know what? I'm done with this, you know? And I think regardless though, it taught me how to read. It taught me how to be disciplined, right? There was positives out of it. I'm not saying it was completely bad, but at the same time, we just didn't have any agreements with that, right? And so back to square one, right? I'm just sad again. I'm like, dang, I thought I found a religion that was going to edify me. I love the militant aspect of it. I love the structure because I'm coming from
you
a place.
Trusted somebody, can't trust them anymore.
Exactly. And so back to trusting Johnny again. And, you know, I finally get out of prison. Prior to me getting out, though, my mom starts talking about God and Jesus. And I'm just like, bro, I'm not believing in no God that allows people to get cancer and die. I'm not believing in God who let my homie die in my arms. Like, I don't believe that, Mom. I'm sorry, you know?
Your friend died in your arms?
Yeah. So when we, you know, end up going out to, you know, when I get out, we end up doing this thing where, you know, we plan a robbery essentially.
As soon as you got out?
Yeah.
There was no party that said, I don't want to go back?
Well, there was, but at the same time, it was more like I tried to fly straight. I think it was like a month, I would say. Not even a month, where I would sit
you're
there.
On parole, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would be like, all right. And I remember applying to so many jobs, bro. At that time, there was Radio Shack and, you know, all that. There was like these places where they're not here anymore. And, you know, Home Depot, Lowe's, Walmart's, all of that. And I'm over here, and obviously there's a box that you have to tick where it's like, are you a convicted felon? Yes. Ticket, straight up, no love, no callback, whatever. And at that time I get pissed, right? I'm like, all right, trying to fly straight, trying to do better. Again, not working for me.
And there's no one coming in that's saying, hey, we'll help you out. There's a situation here. Like, you don't have any of that community.
I do, but it's homies and it's all negative stuff. Hey, why don't you just push? I'm trying to fly straight, bro. Like, you're having me push packs and coke and all. I'm good off that. Let me try. And when I tried, failed, then I was vengeful. I was like, you know what, man, F this. I'm going to do whatever I want then. I'm trying to fly straight. And I think at that time I was more just hurt. I realized it wasn't anger. It was more of pain. It was like, dang, all the things I thought about at nighttime is starting to roll out. It's starting to really come true that I can't do it. But no, I'm a man, right? I'm not weak. I gotta carry and lift myself up, you know? And so I would go, and then, I started pushing. I got plugged in, and I started fast generating a lot of money. Because the thing about prison is it's a network. At the end of the day, it's an ecosystem. When you go in there, you know everybody. So when you get out, you also know all those people who are in there, they're solid. You know, when you go to prison, a lot of people think it's like dum-dums. Sure, in a way, but also they're super down. And these are people who are like the shooters. These are the people who are really about the business. And they're the heavy hitters and command a lot of respect, right? It is a university in the purest form for just gang members, right? And so when they come out, they're well respected. And if you know them, you're well respected, right? Naturally. And so I started to plug in, and I had this network that a lot of the homies would just network with each other. I had like a vast network because I was in prison. And so I would work with this guy, I'd work with the Mexican dude, I'd work with this person. And so money started to just pull in. It was crazy. And I was making $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a month. And this stayed like that for like a whole year. So obviously I got my money now, and I'm thinking, wow, I had a penthouse in LA, cherry red M3 BMW, women whenever, drugs whenever, everything, right? And still, nighttime, rumination. What's going on with me? I have everything. I have the money. Why am I feeling? It was literally like this pressure in my chest. Felt like somebody was just stepping on my heart all day, every day. And then it got worse because now there was this dynamic that I didn't realize that was happening. So when I was in prison, there was something that I could look forward to. Yes, it's scary, but like, I have like hope that I can try my luck and make some money, and I might make it, I might not, right? I either live or I sink or swim. But now that I have it, there was this emptiness that I never felt before, even in prison, where I'm like, bro, I can't live because I'm so depressed, and I can't die because I'm scared to death, right? Like, so, and I don't want to go out like that. That's a weak mentality. So I couldn't live, I couldn't die. And I had so much money, and so the circumstances all
Like,
around me were good.
the thing I want to ask in this though is that all this time you were craving affirmation from these people,
Yeah.
and you started in this because you looked at someone that had those things, and
Yeah.
you said, "I want to be like that person."
Yeah.
There wasn't a part of you that said, "I'd made it."
Well, there was, but then at the same time, that feeling was still there. I
Yeah.
think because I trusted myself so much that all my feelings were valid, even the evil ones, even the depression, even the anxiety, even the loneliness. I would feel, I'd be in a room seriously with 100 of my homies, people who I know, people who love me. As soon as I left that room, empty.
Mm.
Like on the drive home, oh, hey guys, are we doing something else? Like, what's location number 4? Like, we done already hopped 3 different locations. Where are we? Like, what the hell? No, it's cool, bro. Like, we're tired. It's like 5 in the morning, bro. Go to sleep. Like, but I just couldn't feel it. It was just this feeling of void and emptiness is the best way to explain it. And so at that moment, I kind of realized something was wrong, right? And believe it or not, I tried to attempt suicide, 3 separate occasions because of that. It just got to me so bad that I was like, oh, I'll just take my drugs and I'll just overdose. Ended up pumping my stomach, all that. And then,
Can you tell me about the first time? Do you mind?
yeah. So the first time was that, was sitting there and going, you know what? I'm empty. I'm lonely. There was some drama between the neighborhoods. It's called set tripping.
Yeah.
My side was tripping on this side, and I'm like, all right, we're all brothers. Why are we fighting? And I think that's the thing that kind of pushed me over. I was literally like, I can't take this anymore. I'm gonna just like go and get so high. I'm gonna do a multitude of drugs,
Yeah.
from coke to pop a pill to do
Were
everything.
you at that place though where you were already doing drugs to escape, or were you kind of like sober in a
No. I would do drugs, but I wouldn't like, I mean, I would go kind of crazy, but it was more, this was before the fentanyl era. It was just like coke and Hennessy. That
Yeah.
was my thing. Coke, Henny, back and forth.
Yeah.
But this one, it was like, nah, I'm going to do like a hot shot, right? I'm going to do everything at once so that my heart would stop. Cause I knew a friend who did that. He did an upper downer, heart stop, died. Right. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to try that out. And, I swallowed, like ecstasy. I was like doing coke. I think I hit the pookie, which is like meth. I did all this stuff all together, and it was crazy. It was crazy. But again, bat tripped, bounced back from it. Okay, second time, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna just swallow 1,000, pills or whatever it is, 100 pills, and I just those big old Tylenol things, and remember getting rushed to the ER, pumped my stomach, and yeah, that was that. So at the end of it, I just realized like, okay, this is bad. And I think the decision I made was I'm going to go so crazy on the streets that either the cops kill me or my homies or my enemies kill me. That's just how it's going to be, right? And I remember my mom during that time just saying something. Like, I never talked to my mom deeply about my heart. I didn't know what sharing your heart was. I didn't know what fellowship was. But I remember my mom just going, Johnny, I thought about you. I was in church. I was like, I'm not trying to hear about church. She's like, but I really heard this message and I thought about you. And I was like, okay. And she's like, I just want to tell you that it would be really, really sad if you lived this crazy life and then you died and then you basically, like, in the nicest way, like, went to hell, right? She's like, and your life just ends there and you're living in this eternal, like, sadness is what she called it, right? And I was like, oh, she's saying that basically I'm gonna go to hell. And for some reason at that moment, I think my heart was just right to like think about that, because I guess I was already subconsciously thinking about that, but she put it into words, right? And so I was able to kind of reflect just a little bit and go, dang, I wanted to join a hood because I thought it would make me happy. So I joined a hood. Didn't make me happy. I slept around with these women because I thought that would make me happy. Didn't make me happy. Everything that Johnny wanted to do, that I wanted to do, legit, I did. And yet, why am I not happy? Like, that just came to me. right? And I was like, dang, I can't, I'm illiterate. Like I have nothing to really show for it. Like, yeah, I got money and all that, but this isn't a career I can build off of. It's just, I'm living day to day. I didn't think about 10 years from now, right? And so I'm like, I just don't think that this is what life is about.
Mm.
And during that time, was those series of events that were happening. My friend getting shot. I was supposed to go to the right of the car. He was supposed to go to the left. I end up going, you know, to the right, and he steps in front of me. And so I'm like, all right, I'll just go to the left. And we're robbing a drug dealer, a very well-known drug dealer. We knew he was strapped and all that. We just didn't think he was prepared for us, And bullets ring out 3, shoot my friend, bullets fly at me. We're over here, having a gunfight, and they pull off and he's dying. Now, at that moment, I think I understood what survivor's guilt was, because I'm supposed to literally step. That was the original plan. Johnny, you go to the right, I go to the left. So I don't know why he stepped in front of me. And so I'm like, dang, okay. And then he literally is dying, convulsing. All this stuff is, that day. And so I remember just like thinking to myself, like, dang, you were supposed to die. So that happened. That's the first event. A few days after that, I get a kite, which is like an encrypted letter from, one of my longtime friends from the PJs. Taught me how to, make French toast, taught me, all that stuff, right? The just a cool kid. Ends up, saying these weird things like, yo, bro, I'll see you when I see you. Like, I'll be in the mountains with you, and I'm like, what the hell is this guy talking about, And I find out that he had hung himself in prison. And so he dies. And then a week after that, there's a youngster that I super loved. He had everything, all the attributes I had. Wild, crazy, respectful, but, like psychopathic, seriously. But like super respected me, super loved me. He gets murdered, car to car shooting. And so in this week and a half span, I'm over here just like, dude, death is around the corner. Like, I just feel it. It's this feeling of like, if you don't stop, you're going to die. Right. And then again, my mom's voice was loud. It was like, it's just over for you, if you die. But again, I didn't know where to start. And I just was like, all right, whatever, I guess I'm going to die. So I would fall back into that. I would do more drugs at this time. I would just self-medicate, drink, whatever. My mom's car breaks down. It's about an hour away. It's in San Bernardino at this time. And she speaks 3 different languages: English, Korean, Mandarin. And so she's a translator at the church at this time. She's like, Johnny, I need you to come pick me up. My brother's incarcerated because he had joined a gang, also went to prison for a shooting. And my dad's still deadbeat dad. He's not beating her as much, but he's just not, we're estranged. I haven't even talked to him or anything, right? And so my mom, I'm the only one essentially that she can lean on. I drive over there, pick her up. Her car had overheated. I take her back to, the church, and I tell her, prior to getting to the church, I don't want to talk to these people, Mom. I know how Christians get down. I know that they're going to evangelize. Oh, she wasn't even tripping. She's like, it's okay. Johnny, at the end of the day, I just need to serve God. That's what I do. And I remember at that moment, I never shared this with anyone, but I remember in the car, I was like, why the hell is my mom, like, why does she believe in God?
Mm.
She has everything in her life to be mad at God. 2 kids, not 1, 2 kids in prison, living in project housing. I would say my dad ruined her life, like straight up ruined her life. Abusive husband, every situation in her life. It doesn't make sense. Like, why would you believe in God? Like, you should hate God. I, on the other hand, more money than you, have everything that I want. But one thing I could not get over was my mom's peace and like happiness and the willpower to wake up every day and not give up on this dude.
Yeah.
I could not fathom that. And I was like, Mom, why? Like, and obviously at that moment, I did ask her, like, why? why do you do this for church? Like, they're not paying you. They're not doing none of this. Why? Why do you want to serve God so much when he didn't serve you? I remember having that conversation with her in the car, and she's like, Johnny, I realize that I'm nothing and I don't deserve anything and that God still loves me. And I was like, what? I could not understand that. I looked at my mom, I was like, what are you talking about right now? And she's like, again, I just didn't understand her. And so she, was when she was saying that, it wasn't like negative self-talk. It was like, I'm nothing. And even though I'm nothing, like God loves me. And I'm like, and it was at that moment, I was like, I want that peace. Like, I want that, mom. Like, and I didn't say that to her, but if I'm being, God is my witness, I was like, there's a shift that happened just that little bit. And when I get there, pastor, he comes out and he greets me and he goes, hey, Johnny, like, as my mom opens the door, I remember the smell of black bean noodles, right? Food, my favorite dish as a kid was my favorite. Till this day, my favorite. It's the aroma that gets me. And I'm like, oh, that smells bomb. Like I haven't had that in a long time, right? I'm over here hustling and just in my thoughts and I forgot like these things. And, the pastor was really cool. Genuinely, he was suited and booted, short Korean dude. And he goes, hey man, we created, he's telling my mom to translate because he only speaks Korean, right? And he's like telling my mom and he's like, oh, pastor is saying that they created some, they made some black bean noodles. I was like, yeah, I can smell it. Oh, would you like to have some? And we have to-go packaging, like we'll package it for you. And for some reason that day, with the respect aspect, I was like, damn, bro is gonna give me stuff like, what is this, a drive-through? Like, I can't even respect him enough to like come and have a conversation with him or at least let him show me the church. I just had that heart. And so I parked the car. I was like, no, you know what? I'll get some food. And even him and my mom were like, what? So they were shocked. I end up going in there and he starts to kind of give me a little tour of the church and this is our parsonage and this is what, and all this stuff. And he's just like, yeah, like you came home, you've been through a lot, and I was like, dang, this guy's like talking to me very respectfully. But another side of my heart, I'll be honest, was like, he's running game. Like he's probably going to sit here and do what every pastor says. I love you, brother, and then try to convert me. And then I think with him, what I saw was that he was genuine. He was raw. And he was like, I never lived your life. And I'm kind of glad I didn't. He was just straight up like, I was like, dang, thanks, He's like, but me and you are very similar in one thing. And I was like, okay, how are we similar? You're from Korea. You've never stepped a big toe in the streets. You don't know what gang violence is. You don't know what getting shot and getting stabbed and shooting at people is. What do we have in common? And he goes, I want to ask you before I ask this question, do you know what sin is? And are you a sinner? And so I'll be honest, I got mad, right? I was like, wait, what are you talking about? Of course I'm a sinner. Everybody sins. So that's what I said. I was like, everybody sins. And yes, sin is just falling short and doing bad and like, knowing that you should do better and you don't do better. And yeah, that's me. Like I said it exactly like that because I was pissed because I thought it was a loaded question. And I think what opened my mind was when he goes, that's not true. And I was like, wait, what? He used the analogy of sin, he explained the concept of original sin to me. And I've never heard it this way, where he's like, you're born Chinese and you didn't choose to be Chinese. Your father, his father, his father, his father. And so do you think that you could ever stop being Chinese even if you tried not to? And I was like, no. Like if you eat more orange chicken or if you eat less orange chicken, he used this analogy, will you be less or more Chinese? What the hell? This guy's hella racist, but okay. Right? Like, what are you saying right now? And he's like, in the same way, Johnny, you're born imperfect, which is what we call sin.
Yeah.
And you can't ever perfect yourself. And that's why you feel empty. That made me go, how do you know I'm empty? How do you know what I'm like? How do you know what I'm feeling? I've never spoke to you. This is the first time I met you. I've never said this to my mom. So I know my mom didn't manipulate and try to tell you stuff. It was like, it blew my mind. And for the first time, I felt like this random dude, Korean dude, short pastor, had the antidote for like what I was feeling. Because when he said that, it literally like rocked my world.
Did your mom know you tried to take your life?
She didn't know that. Yeah, she didn't know that. So, I never things like that I just didn't share with her. But yeah, she didn't know that. And so he's over here saying this to me, and I'm just like, whoa. And he goes, the way that the world is set up, Johnny, there's these mantras in this world, right? Follow your thoughts, believe in yourself, follow your heart. And he goes, you're an imperfect person, let's say, with an imperfect heart. You're not perfect, right? You're flawed. All of us are. We all have weaknesses. How do you think your life is going to end up? And it was the most mind-blowing thing I was like, dude, that's so true.
Yeah.
Right. And he goes, and a lot of people think like we're not born evil. Like sin is just evil. Right. He goes, but if you look at the seed, he uses an apple seed. He uses a lot of analogies. Bro spoke in parables. Right. He's like, there's analogy of an apple. And he goes, before the apple is an apple, what is it? It's an apple seed. And I'm like, true. When you look at the seed, where's the apples? I was like, interesting. But as it grows, as you water it, as it, becomes a tree and then produces fruit, what does it end up being? An apple, right? In the same way, you're born as a baby. Where's the sin? But as you grow, right? And I'm like, dang. And these things started to make sense to me. To go, wow, you're explaining it in a way that I never knew Christianity was this. I thought it was you do better, you try harder, and that's that, right? So as he explained these things to me, I was able to really recognize that he was caring. He took the time to explain it to me. Blew my mind, obviously. Knew me and was relatable, which I had thought, no way. I thought he was going to Bible thump me. I thought he was going to brimstone and fire me. You better do this and that. Like a lot.
And you're coming with the hypocritical, liar, condescending, judgmental frame.
Yeah.
That's what this guy's supposed to be.
Yeah. Holier than thou type of feel, right? Because I experienced that even in prison. They would have, the Catholic priests, or they would have, people come in, Mormons or whoever. And it wasn't like they were condemning, but they would say things that would rub me the wrong way. Like, for example, if you love your sin, I remember hearing this, if you love your sin, then you will burn for that. Like they straight up said that, right? It's like, and you guys have to learn to like not love your sin. Like, it's like, it was almost like mind control. Like you have to not love your sin. And I'm like, how? I've tried.
Yeah.
Like, how do I stop doing that? But then when he explained it, it was more like, you need a savior.
Yeah.
There's another analogy. If you're drowning in the water and you walk out of the water, you saved yourself. You're not drowning. But if you don't know how to swim, a lifeguard has to come and save you. And he goes, in the same way, that's who Jesus is. You can't get yourself out of depression. He's like, you can't get yourself out of loneliness. Again, I'm like, how does this guy know this? How can he read me like a book? What am I showing? Right? I've got the nice car. What is he like? What do you mean?
Yeah.
And so through that, he was like, the one thing that the world teaches is trust yourself.
Yeah.
Follow your heart. And when you do that, you live like a roller coaster. Happy when you're happy, sad when you're sad. In the Bible, there's Proverbs 3. Verse 5 and 6, and he first time cracked open the Bible in a long time, I was able to see, and he goes, oh, I remember this verse, lean not on your own understanding, right? Don't trust yourself. He says, you follow your heart, listen to your heart, right? That gut feeling. I said, yeah. It says in the Bible, Jeremiah 17, verse 9, the heart is deceitful above all things, desperately wicked, who can know it? And
is this being translated this whole time?
Yeah. My mom is translating, right? And she's sitting there and she's translating, and I'm like, dang, it's crazy. And so through all of this, just felt this sense of like, this guy, he cares about me.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't have to tell me these things.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've been lied to.
Yeah.
There's just this heart of like, I've been lied to, but this is what I feel like is the truth. Like if anyone's representing Christianity, it's this guy right here. Right. And so I was able to fully let my guard down at that time. And so, when people see, the soft white underbelly that I went on, I spoke about this where he kind of pushes me into apologizing to my father, who my father, again, was the aggressor. I was the victim. And I didn't understand that concept. But even that, he explained, you apologizing to your dad, right? It's like two countries that go to war. Both of them think that they're right. There's no peace, right? Phone lines are broken, railroads, houses are bombed, people die. In the same way, Johnny, you're right. Your father, you didn't ask to be born. Your father beat on you, 100%. You're absolutely right. He just kept it real. He goes, but you're miserable because of that. And I was like, again, how do you know my heart? Like, I would look at my homies, and that's the one thing I would say, man, you're lucky you even have a dad. Fool, you have a dad too. Like, nah, bro, he wasn't present though. Like your dad, like, I mean, they didn't drink and beat you. Like, okay, they didn't say I love you, but like they were there. They provided for you. You live in a nice place. Like, what are you talking about? So I would be jealous and I would feel that rage and that anger, you know, and I would get mad. I would always side with their parents because I'm like, bro, like you're messing up. They're cool, you know. If you had my dad, right, and I would be like this. And so he again read my heart to the T. I went ahead and obviously went and apologized to my dad. Long story short, my dad was able to, you know, apologize back, which was crazy. When I said I was sorry, it cracked my dad. He was like, no, Johnny, like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I wasn't a good father. I'm sorry that I, you know, beat you. I'm sorry that I couldn't control my alcohol. I'm sorry that I moved in this project housing when it was crazy. And I'm truly apologetic, you know, and I'm sorry. And we hugged it out in the middle of the restaurant. And, you know, he actually tells his side now on YouTube. We did an interview with him and it was beautiful, right? And so what I realized through all of this was I was trusting myself. The root issue with me was I thought I knew and I didn't know. I thought that, you know, this emptiness that I felt was something that could be filled with monetary things or materialistic things. It was a spiritual thing. And so for that day, he spoke about salvation to me. And he talked about the gospel. And he said, you know, Jesus died for your sins. He doesn't remember your sins, made you righteous. And I think for me, because I knew I was going to go, maybe not to hell, but something like hell, an evil place for evil people, because I did evil things. I just had that ingrained in me. I knew, right? And even Muslims talk about it. There is hell, right? And so I'm over here and I'm like, dang, I'm going to burn or I'm going to go to a crazy place where there's evil spirits and I just had no hope. I lived with zero hope. That day, I remember, was the hope in my heart.
Did you say that's the day you get saved?
Yeah. I would say that's the day I got saved because he asked me, he goes, so do you know what professing Jesus is? It's not just saying I believe in Jesus. It's not just admiring him. It's trusting everything he says, right? Johnny, are you perfected? He showed me Hebrews 10:14. For by one offering he hath perfected forever them that are sanctified. One offering, Jesus Christ. Perfected is in past tense, he explains, meaning already done. Forever means eternally, holy, right? And then he goes, sanctified. Do you believe this? Or do you trust your thoughts that always change, feelings that always change? Which one do you want to trust that never changes? And I'm like, dude, I'm going to trust the word. If I trust paperwork as a prisoner to show me that this guy is a rape or and that's enough for me to trust, why would I trust this word? It never changes. And so I just put my guard down and I felt Holy Spirit. I felt fullness inside of my heart for the first time, I think in my life. It wasn't even as a kid, like in my life.
Did you get emotional?
Of course I cried and my mom cried and it was crazy, right? My mom was like bawling her eyes out. And I remember like coming home after that, driving my mom home and it was on the 10 during rush hour. And I think we were going like against traffic. So on the left side, it was just all traffic. And I remember having the heart and I just had to tell my mom, I was like, Mom, it's so crazy that all these people don't know this gospel. And she's just bawling her eyes out because she's like, how can you, who never thought about anybody, think like that after just one session of like having that heart? And I was very thankful. And from then on, that word, Hebrews 10:14, 10:17, and their sins and iniquities will I remember no more, which God never breaks his promise. He does everything, cannot lie, right? But tells us, I don't remember your sins. That has sustained me to go, dang, this is what I want people to like see. I want people to see that we're righteous and perfected.
Yeah.
And I want people to know that our sins are washed because Jesus didn't fail on the cross.
Yeah.
And so, you know, Pastor then, you know, he's always been challenging me, which I love him. He goes, okay, now that you're saved, I shared that heart with him. Pastor,
I need to pause you here first before we get into this place where, because I think there's a whole other section of new life here.
Yeah.
I want to know what changed. You were someone that was attempting suicide.
Yeah.
And you were feeling empty. You still had the penthouse.
Yeah.
You still had the cars, you still had the girls, and you had the drugs.
Yeah.
And there's an aspect of like addiction in there.
Yeah.
that doesn't just like go away just because you change your heart. There's all these different ties.
Yeah, of course.
That are like pulling you.
Sure.
When this happened, you drove home. What was like? Was it like, okay, this is different?
Yeah. Again, I felt the hope. And I think what I was clinging on to my gang for, what I was clinging on to the women for was hope.
Yeah.
But it got replaced, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of that stuff I did quit cold turkey, but you're right. There's certain things that I struggled with. And I think Pastor, this is where the wisdom of Pastor was. He explained to me how we need servants. He goes, there's this guy named Moses. I remember Moses, and I've seen like, these little like animations and stuff about him. And he's like, God could have saved the Israelites. Snap a finger, wipe out the Egyptians. He goes, why does he establish Moses? He talked about Noah's Ark. God created the whole world. He can't create an ark? Why does he establish Noah? And I'm like, I don't know. And then he talks to me about Hebrews 13, verse 7, Hebrews 13, 17, which is submitting to the servant, for they watch over your souls. They care about you. He's like, Johnny, I want a proposal. You could keep all the things that you have, penthouse, whatever. Is it okay if you spend a couple months with me just living in my parsonage? I was like, what the hell? He goes, because I think one of the things I've seen with prisoners, he's worked with a lot, is the recidivism rate is reoffending and then going back. And I truly, Johnny, I don't want that for you. And that was in my heart, always in the back of my head, like, when's the next time I'm either going to die or go back in for life? 2-strike felon, by the way. One more strike and I'm out, right? I'm doing 25 to life for sure. And so I'm like, okay, dang. And I was at that crossroads where I was like, if I feeling good right now, but these things never last because I know that. If I don't take an opportunity to live and grow with him, then what do I do? And it was the first time I prayed, like genuinely to God. And I was like, God, what do you want to do? Am I supposed to go? I don't think I could do it by myself. You said that you're my savior. I don't think I can save myself. And then I remember like crying and then saying in Jesus' name, amen. And then I just went for it. I was like, all right, Pastor, I'm going to just move in. When do we move in? He was cheering, bro. Yeah. I was like, what the heck? This guy's crazy. Do you know, like, living with me is going to be bad, bro? You're letting a gang member live with you. But, it was beautiful. I remember that moment. And I go there and it just, I guess because I was in prison, I was used to it. They had cottages and we had to share with other people. And of course there was that rift of, getting to know other people and feeling like you don't belong. And I went through all of that, obviously. But
even the whole like PTSD of I got to always be on guard. I'm waiting for something to happen.
Yes, 100%. Yeah. And so 1 month went by. I'm not in jail. 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. And I'm like, whoa.
Were you talking to the community, the gang at the time? Like, were they hitting you up and saying what's up?
Of course.
Yeah. What was your reaction in that? How did you?
That was difficult, to be honest. I think the toughest thing was when they were trying to pull me back.
Yeah.
I believe Satan works when God works too, obviously. So, when I'm over here telling them, hey, I'm a Christian now, they laughed at me. A lot of them thought it was a phase. And some of them even thought I was on drugs. They were like, bro's on drugs. Johnny is not, he's super big brain, super like logical. Analytical. He would never trust something he can't see. He's just tripping. There's something wrong with him, But when they started to see that it was real, because my brother's from my hood, my uncle's from my hood, my cousin, it's a generational thing, genuinely. Even though I was to denounce them, I couldn't stop seeing them. They're literally family members, right? Yeah. It's just a generational thing. So I end up just telling them and drawing a boundary with them. And I remember calling all the homies and going, hey, you guys know I stood 10 toes. I never snitched. I never rolled it up. I never PC'd up. I represented something which is bigger than me, which is our hood, more than like to the fullest. If you guys are my real homies, and we are really like shongdi, right? Which means like brothers, right? Family. Then you guys got to respect that what I'm doing, Like I'll never talk bad about us. I'm not going to share any of our stuff. I won't even mention the name. Like I just want to be happy. And it did divide a lot of people. Some were like, hey, I'm with that. Some were like, whatever, bro. Like you're turning your back on us. And so, I think they needed time to see that I was serious about this,
Mm.
and I ended up just being serious, moving in, changing. And I think that drew the same way now that I look back, my mom's piece drew me in is the same way my piece draws a lot of my youngsters and my homies in too, till this day, where they're like, dang, that's what I want. Having a pastor, my leader, guide me, that was everything. I
Yeah.
don't think I would be here today if I didn't have my pastor guiding me, right? I fought with him a lot. I'm not ashamed to say it, but like I do feel like a godly remorse because he was making me unlearn so many things that were hardwired into me. Not trusting people. He was like, it's okay. God will make your crooked path straight. Lean on God, right?
Mm.
All this stuff, like I had to unlearn. So he went through the trenches with me, if you will. And so, yeah. And from then on, like I didn't have to carry a gun. I didn't have to, do drugs because I was preaching the gospel and he would level me up. So one thing he did was he had me go to prison to give my testimony. And he had me, sign up for like seminary. And I'm like, what? Like, why are you making me do all this? I spent all my life running away from prison and you got me pushing back into these places where I'm like an alumni here. Like I know people here, right? I know the guards here. And I remember the first time I went back, it was Lancaster State Prison. I was having a full on panic attack. Like I had to like stick my head out the window because I had this thought of like, okay, you're now preaching for the first time. Even if it's your testimony, he showed me Revelation 12:11, right? Overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of your testimony. So just share your testimony. You don't have to be a preacher and like fiery and all that. But I said, okay. But as I got closer to the prison, it hit me.
Yeah.
All these thoughts started coming, bro.
Yeah.
What if you mess this up? What if people who know you call you a fraud? What if your homies who are in there like seen you and be like, but Johnny cracked off a riot before, he's over here saying this? Like, what if they think you're weak? What if they think, what if this messes with your status?
Yeah.
All these things were coming to me. And so that day I defied pastor straight up. I went with my other minister. I was like, bro, drop me off, bro, or take me back. I'm not doing this. So we went back and I remember just packing all my stuff and feeling like embarrassed. And then pastor just kind of knocks on the door and comes in. And he goes, Johnny, I understand. I'm sorry. He apologizes. I'm sorry if you feel like I forced you. But can I ask you one thing? And I remember, it's just one thing, right? And he's telling the other pastor to translate. And he goes, ask Johnny, right? When he was doing drugs, when he was getting all the money, when he was gangbanging, did he ever have a thought to stop? Right. And then I was like, no. If anything, I was like, no, this is life. Like, this is it. And it led me to destruction. He goes, but why is it that when you're going to go preach the gospel, that all these negative thoughts are coming?
That'll preach.
I believe Satan is trying to trick you. I think he's trying to block the blessing. And bro, that gave me chills.
Yeah.
I was like, what? This guy's wise, right? He goes, Johnny, that's how Satan works.
Yeah.
He cannot stop you. He'll make you forfeit. That's just how it is.
Yeah.
He'll distract you, whatever. So at the end of it, I end up going to prison and it was a class of 75 people. Again, never spoke. Public speaking was not my thing. I'm shaking, my water bottle, everything, going crazy. And then at the end of it, I'm like, dang, did I talk too much? Did I do whatever? These guys start to like line up, shake my hand, come up to me. Yo, bro, like that feeling that you talked about, that emptiness at night, I was doing that last night. Bro, thank you for telling me about that. I didn't even know that. And I'm like crying, bro. I go in the parking lot. I'm holding my tears. I don't want to look weak in front of them, right? And I go outside and I sit in the car and I remember Pastor John was with me and I'm bawling. And I'm like, dude, I can't believe that God would use someone like me to be able to and I can't believe I almost forfeited this. Like all these people sharing their heart and then telling me, oh, I'm in here for double murder, like telling me all their stuff, opening up. feeling exactly what I felt. It was just this renewing of my heart of going, geez, I understand now why people preach.
Yeah.
I understand now why people are doing this, you know? And so from then on, pastor was like, you're going to be the world's best gospel preacher. You're going to be a minister. And I'm like, yo, chill. This is one thing, right? But at the end of it, you know, he really laid the foundation for me, pushed me when he needed to, pulled me in when he needed to, you know, had empathy towards me, but chastised me when he needed to, really respected me and really loved on me. And now, obviously, me being a pastor, you know, that's the one thing I noticed, bro, is that, okay, I'm in prison. You know, I preach the gospel to these people and I'm doing this. Now it's all prison ministry. I'm doing this for years. And just, you know, 3 years ago, I'm over here like, okay, you know, I'm good at prison ministry, but I don't know if I can talk to other people. He challenges me, Johnny, jump on Instagram. People are using social media now. I'm like, bro, first off, I'm Asian, so I'm super reserved. We don't stand in front of cameras and, you know what I mean? And I'm from the gang life. This is kind of a no-no. I would have to go back and advise my homies like, hey, I'm going to be doing this because it's one thing to not be documented and go into these prison systems. It's another thing to go public with it, right? And so I'm sitting here and I'm like,
what's the risk on your life in there? Like, you're being public about this.
Yeah.
There's a tribe, and it's like you're with me or against me.
Yeah.
And no matter what, your actions aren't with them.
Sure.
So is there an aspect that your life is actually at risk?
There is, but not from my homies. It's more of maybe enemies or other things, but not. So, you know, there's actually when I go viral, at first they're like, what's going on, right? They all hold a meeting, like, what is he talking about? But after a while, they're like, wow, Johnny is really just talking about God. He's not name dropping. He's not, you know, like sharing information that's not public. He's not even talking about cold cases, closed cases, you know, open cases. He's not, right? So, but prior to that, right, I'm over here and I'm like, okay, I spent all my life running away from prison. Pastors like, you know, go back to prison, and I get good at it. Genuinely, I meet with people. I speak to 100 people, 300 people at a time. I start running programs in their 16-week program, 52-week program, and they start to change. People, you know, start to come, and whether it's Muslims, Buddhists, whatever, they start to ask questions. I'm getting cultivated, and I'm also cultivating and nurturing them. So we get sharp at these things. And I'm thinking, okay, what do prisoners deal with? Depression, loneliness, anxiety, frustration, anger, PTSD, past trauma, compounded trauma, lust, the usual, right? And I'm like, all right, this is what prisoners are going through. And I thought that prison was a place that was just bars and walls. But when I became viral, I started to realize I've been to every single prison, right, in California. I've seen the most packed prisons, but I realized the most packed prison is the mind, bro. Like, most people are like trapped, right? People think prison is a physical place. Not necessarily. It's spiritual, it's emotional, it's mental, 1000%. Even though people are free, right? They were empty, right? And I thought, again, this, you know, only prisoners or people like us, disenfranchised from the PJs, from the projects, low income, struggled with anxiety, depression, loneliness. People who got money, people who are great, like, they're not. Even though I went through that, I was like, well, I have trauma, right? If I came from a good household, I still had that thought, I'll be okay. If both of my parents loved on me, I wouldn't struggle with depression and loneliness, until I went viral. And then I started checking my DMs, and I started to see people in my lives. And then I realized, bro, the whole world is locked up, legit locked up. And I think that's why I'm so relatable to people, is because from the core of it, God has placed me into this thing where it's like, there hasn't been a question that stumped me when we do our live Q&As in person. And I'm just like, it's because being in prison, even though it's a physical one, kind of made me realize that everybody has some type of mental bondage, some type of emotional bondage, whether it's resentment for the past, whether it's anxiety for the future. These things literally hold us in bondage.
Yeah.
And they all need Jesus and they all need God.
Yeah.
And I think we see that even with this wave of just new Christianity, where there's like almost like this revival of people who are high ranking, people giving their lives up to God, who have so much money and you know, all that. And so it's just the timing of God is so amazing, right?
Yeah.
And so through all of this, I realized that God was leading me from the beginning. I just didn't know that. Romans 8:28 is so clear. Everything works for the greater good to those who love God. And so there's something that a lot of people are missing when it comes to Christianity. And I think the saddest thing after becoming viral and just seeing people is that they're either misinformed or they're uninformed. That's it. They're struggling not because they're stupid, not because they're less than, not because they're just sinning however they want. No one just goes and does what they want. Genuinely, it's just they're misinformed. We've been taught from a young age that you have to try harder, you have to do better. But no one actually equips us with the tools to show us that we can't really do that, right? And so I think with me, you know, after going viral, I through pastor, he was like, you have to be able to nurture people. Johnny, it's not just about gospel preaching. It's not just, okay, a person's saved. Because now you have spiritual journey, right? You have spiritual life. So what is spiritual life? It's constantly coming back to God, you know, in the purest form. I think my calling is my hope is to have people have a real relationship with God daily. It's to come back to him. It's to talk to him, because I've read the Bible front to back 26 times, and it was only just 15 minutes a day talking to God and just reading the Bible. It was just a system that my pastor has actually implemented, right? And broke everything down to a T. And from that, it really helped me kind of, you know, do this. And so we have community now, you know, Discord, and a lot of it is parasocial. But what I'm noticing about that too is parasocial only goes so far. I think healing has to come physically too, right? In terms of going from online to offline. So what I've been doing is I've been creating like live events, these after services. They're free. The idea came last year, and it was like, you know what? Like, it's cool that people are sitting in front of a computer. But at the same time, like, we need community. God says, don't abandon the fellowship of the church and gathering, right? Why I do this is because the gospel is the center of it all. Right? It's good there's a lot of information about God out there. Right? But there's not a lot of relation. I'm noticing that, where it's like people want to have a relationship with God, but they don't biblically know how either. Right? They would wing it. If I didn't have my pastor, I think I would be super caught up in my feelings. I would be like, oh, I hear God and then I don't hear him. And I would live like this kind of lukewarm roller coaster lifestyle. And it's not because they want to live like that. People are desperate to get out of that. But they don't know the tools, you know?
What do you think about this? This is kind of where I want to pivot the conversation. I love your story. And I think something that's beautiful about it, as someone that's like grown up in the church, there's aspects of you that I think the reason you're so helpful is it's helpful to see an extreme. Like, as much as bad as it is, it's helpful to see an extreme of like, this is what depravity could look like. And how much more so can grace fill this? If God can get you, how much more so can God get them? You were there. How much more so can he fix where they're at?
Absolutely.
And sometimes I think for people that grew up in the church, there's this energy. I'm sure you've talked to so many people about this, where there's this taking it for granted. Where you're saying like, oh, my story's not that impressive, or I don't have that genuine relationship because it's all that I've known. And so you take the beauty of that hope that you feel, and you dampen it because you just like don't build the actual relationship. You base it off of the social practices of the religion. Do you think that the modern church is losing people because they're not focusing on the relationship with Jesus?
Yes. I think that's right to the T. And if you think about it, right, people need a relationship with God. It's just how it is. Like, God, through the gospel, that's the relationship, is like, I will sacrifice something for you guys. Why? Like, I didn't have to. He didn't have to. If Jesus sat there and was like, you know what? he could have had a really strong argument if he was like, hey, dad, there's gonna be people out here who thinks I'm a prophet. There's gonna be people who think I'm like in witchcraft and I'm fake. Why would I die for them? Right? Because he would be right. But at the same time, I think he thought about us and he was like, I need to save Grant. I need to save Johnny. I need to save Jerry. Like all these people who save everybody.
Yeah.
Right. And so it just shows the heart posture of God. And you can't know someone's heart posture, even in a relational way, like removing God out of this. If you can't trust someone or get to know somebody, then you won't love them. You can't love them. And so, I believe that through the gospel, God wants us to kind of come to him through the relationship. And I think a lot of churches are not talking about that. It's a lot of stripping the glory away from God.
Yeah.
Right. Because I had an unlock. I had a revelation. God spoke to me. And there's no idea of like, what about what God is doing for other people? I mentor a lot of kids who are PKs too. And they have that same question. Bro, I grew up in the church. I don't have a crazy testimony like you. I can't reach other people. One of my friends, he's a PK. He goes, I was just afraid of going to hell. He's like, that's my testimony, bro. I was like fire and brimstone. Oh, I don't want to go there. But I was like, see, that's why you shouldn't trust your thoughts. He goes, man, what do you mean by that? Right? I said, because when it comes down to, let's say me and you, how many people do you think are gang members in the world? He goes, interesting. I don't know. I said, just give me a number. Maybe like 3 million, maybe let's say 10 million, right? How many people do you think are afraid of going to hell though? And he was like, dang. I was like, so you may reach my people, but you also, there's a lot of people who are just like you, PKs, who are scared to go to hell, et cetera, So like, we have these kind of preconceived notions that stop us, these expectations of like, I don't have this, so I have to dampen it, right? No, everybody has a testimony. Otherwise, God wouldn't say, overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of your testimony. The issue is we think that we have to have this bomb testimony.
Yeah.
This, I'm touching people at this transformational thing. No, at the end of the day, and he's preaching heavy now too, right? At first he's like, my dad's a pastor. I can't relate with people like that. Yeah. But now he's just on fire because it's beautiful.
I want to make a choice in this part of the interview.
Yeah.
The way I want to switch it up is, we've talked about your story. I'm grateful for that. And I think there's a lot of people that are just going to be amazed by that, but they're going to be fitting in different camps. And I think I kind of want to be selfish.
Okay.
I'm talking to you right now in a season where I've been firm in my faith for a long time. I've doubted.
Yeah.
Can I tell you like a little bit of my testimony?
Yes.
The only dark point in my life was we had a couple miscarriages. And that was the first time, like the first miscarriage was the first time that I doubted God.
Yeah.
Because it was me everything kind of was easy.
Yeah.
And it was the first time really processing loss too. Yeah. And it was like my first time saying like, oh, everything isn't going to go my way this whole time.
Of course.
And then I just prayed, worked through it, try to trust in God's goodness. And then we had a second miscarriage. And then I was like, I'm really confused now about who God is. Because I've known only blessing.
Of course.
I've known we weren't rich, we were lower middle class, but I've only known God's blessing. Everything's been easy. Mm-hmm. I think it'd be so lame, insincere to say on camera, oh yeah, I'm this strong believer. I lead worship by church every Sunday.
Yeah.
I feel insincere.
Yeah.
And the times I do lead, it's in a state of Lord, I need this.
Sure.
I want to sit here. I want to engage with this.
Sure.
How do I grow in my appreciation for Jesus to remind myself that he is all that I need?
Yeah. I think the realization is a good part of you seeing that, I feel insincere and I feel, low in my faith, as you say, right? That's a beautiful thing. I think for you, Grant, and I tell this to a lot of people are not too far gone from God. They're too good for God. And what I mean by that is, when you look at Matthew 7:21-23, scripturally speaking, it's a scary verse that everybody knows. Not everyone who says, Lord, Lord, shall enter my kingdom, but those who do the will of my Father in heaven. In those days they shall profess unto me. In those days they shall profess to me, haven't we prophesied in your name? and in your name cast out devils. So let's think about this for a second. Prophecy, gift of the Spirit. Casting out devils, deliverance. And many wonderful works in your name, wonderful works. During this time, God should say, good job, my faithful, humble servant. You are literally doing the things that, right? Not in your name, in my name. And yet he goes, depart from me. I never knew you. You who practice iniquity. Now, why doesn't he say, depart from me, you didn't prophesy enough. You didn't keep the commandments enough. You didn't have enough faith. He doesn't say that. If you think about what he says, I never knew you is kind of wild. An omniscient God, omnipotent God, who knows everything all the time, is everywhere all the time. Why does he say this? Because there's no relationship. It's a relational issue. But it starts with what you said. Oh, I'm a person. I only come to God transactionally. I only come to God when I need something. And then he still sent Jesus to die for a person like me. That's Paul's heart. Oh, I'm a person that I'm not as good. Just like Job, he had everything. But when things were taken away from him, his real heart came out. He didn't realize, oh my gosh, I've been blessed, and my gratitude comes from my blessings becoming expectations. So when those things are taken away, then the heart posture will naturally shift. What I think is very beautiful about what God did in your life, when I'm looking at it from a scriptural perspective, is he's exposing, hey, do you love me, Grant? You don't, but it's okay. That's why I love you. And I want you to understand that even though, just like Johnny, same heart, you never cared about me, Johnny. You had wanted a mountain of cocaine, women, and a penthouse. You wanted life without me, but I've always wanted life with you. That changed my heart. Oh my goodness, Lord. I'm a person that should burn in hell. And yet you died for me. Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani. In Aramaic is, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? Jesus was forsaken for us. You forsook Jesus for me? This generated a different heart to love God, to have faith in God. So what I'm so thankful about him, in Psalms, he speaks about this, for I know your frame, you are made out of dust. You know, God created us out of dirt. For what? And I thought about it. Why couldn't he create us out of diamond, gold, silver? He could do whatever he wants. He created me out of dirt. And I was able to have this revelation that, you know, although dirt is stepped on, spat on, it's useless technically, right? I mean, no one gets happy when you get dirt on your shirt or whatever. But when you plant seed inside of dirt, it produces life and it feeds everything around it. We are good soil. We have to remain that. What I've learned about Satan is that he always boosts people up. And then from that position, when things don't go your way, then he goes, hey, what happened? Oh, is it because you were disobedient? Is it because, you know, you weren't, like, why are you questioning him? Is that what Christians do? And now condemnation, as you know, felt before, enters the heart. And God says in Romans 8, right? There is now no more condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus. So what we have to learn, it goes back to that foundational thing that I teach, distrusting your thoughts, especially when they don't match the word of God. Take every thought captive, 2 Corinthians 10:5, and bring it to the obedience of Christ. People don't know what that means though. So the best way to step out of that mind frame is to go, okay, I have this intrusive thought right now. It makes sense. It's making me feel something. But is this what the word says about me? And if you can't do that, then you're going to be in your feelings. And I have this saying all the time. If you're not in your word, you're in your feelings. I think the issue with a lot of churches and just people in general is that they're not clear about the word. Number one, they think they are, right? But it's very difficult because, you know, studying is very important. The Bible says study day and night, study to show yourself approved. And in this way, I think that's the main issue. Number one, again, they're misinformed or uninformed, as I say. You know, even the first year or two in my walk, I was on fire. Wow, I'm preaching the gospel, this and this and that. My pastor would have this famous saying, all my community knows this, Johnny, you're dirt. You're nothing. I'm like, why is this guy hating on me? I'm in the prisons preaching the gospel. Our classes are getting huge. Prisons are hearing about it in this prison and they want us to bring that program over. And I'm thinking selfishly and stupidly, it's because of Johnny Chang. He's like, you're dirt. You're nothing.
Yeah.
You know, Johnny, you're just a vessel. You're the donkey that Jesus rides upon. You're nothing, respectfully. And I'm like, when I would hear that, I would be angry. And he's just smiling. He's like, look at your heart. You think you're the savior. And I'm like, dang. And he's like, and if God doesn't wake you up in the morning, can you do any of this? And I'm like, sheesh. It just lowered my heart. I believe God in this season, for a lot of people also, he wants to move from performative to like truly true faith that, hey, regardless, God, if I do this or that, you love me and you're going to work. And that is a faith that's not conditional. It doesn't matter on whether you feel it, any of that. It's what God says is true.
I say it's not to make it sound like I don't love Jesus. I do, but I definitely feel like I feel fear of what you communicated, which is like that lukewarm Christian.
Yeah.
I feel fear of saying, hey, let's look at the data here.
Sure. How
do you instruct someone in that state to say, this is what genuine commitment to God looks like?
I think the thing we have to think about is if you can't step out of the frame of thinking about yourself, then even while serving God, it will be like lukewarm, right? Because again, as you had mentioned, we're just doing things for ourselves.
Yeah.
And so what I realized is you have to be able to think like God's heart in all of this. So if I were you, I would pray to God. I would say, hey, Lord, you know my heart. Maybe I don't know my heart. Maybe I do want to operate in the gray area. Maybe whatever it is that I feel, these are things that I feel. Let me put this aside. God, you could snap your fingers and snap me out of this. You could relight that fire and whatever it is that I want. Why is it that you're not doing that? Are you okay? What is it that you're trying to teach me out of this? In that way, that's already seeking God. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Versus like it's kind of about us, right? And that's the thing about a lot of Christianity nowadays is that there's this idea of like admiring Jesus and loving this idea of loving Jesus that I'm starting to see, where it's like, you know, those people who are in love with the idea of being in love, but they're not really like loving that. It could be a cardboard cutout and it's like, but this feels so good. And it's all feelings based, right?
Yeah.
And so that's why, you know, Jeremiah 17 speaks about this. The heart is deceitful. You know, it means it's a liar above all things, top liar. Who can know it is the mic drop. He records it because no one thinks like that. No one thinks their heart is deceitful, right? And so I think what it comes down to, and I want to err on the side of caution because I don't want people to think, oh, so my heart is only evil. No, I'm not saying that. But there is a lot of confusion where we think foundationally we have something, but we don't. And I think that's why the humility aspect is there. When we sit there and we go, you know, dang, I don't really know, that's when people can learn. The enemy loves to boost. You know things. You're smart. Look at you. You've lived this way. You have a path. He likes to do this type of stuff to us.
Yeah.
And then from that, we kind of become very, I guess, we fall into condemnation. When you look at the people in the Bible, the only people that receive condemnation are good people. And what I mean by that is like when Jesus Christ, right, he wasn't crucified by the woman caught in the act of adultery. He wasn't crucified by the people who were less than. He was always crucified by the people who were like, I know God. I got to do a little better, but I know God. Isaac, Abraham, and Jacob's God, my father. So being good when we're inherently evil, I think that's the problem. Being a sinner is the reason why we need God. But people step out of this mindset of, no, I can't do that. I have to be like it's almost like they slowly drift away from God by going, let me take care of myself while serving you. Like, look at what's happening. So when I speak about it's a heart issue, we need grace to be able to see that. I'm starting to also notice that people come in and they will only follow when they agree.
Mm.
Do you understand what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
like, hey, that makes sense. He's discerned, guys. Why? Because it made sense to me.
Yeah.
But that's not submission. If I'm only following when I agree, then who's God? I'm God.
Yeah. Someone's clicking on this video though, and they're probably, I'm just gonna guess, they're seeking the fire. Whether they're feeling something that's like, hey, can you stoke the thing that's already existing, or you're saying, man, I don't feel anything.
Yeah.
Is that a good thing? Should we seek the fire?
I think so. I think there's nothing wrong with seeking the fire. I think it's when the fire becomes your God. That's the problem. So, for example, I'll do this with dreams and visions. People are like, oh, Johnny doesn't believe in dreams and visions. That's not true. It's when dreams and visions that come from God become your God. That's the problem for me. If things take precedence over the gospel, big problem. Now, most people, and I really appreciate you, Grant, for like being real, because you're like, I just know, like, I feel like it's for me. Most people can't even say that. No, it's not. Like, internally it's for them, but they're like, no, it's for God. Look, I want to be on fire and bring people to Jesus, right? But deep down, it's the validation aspect. It's whether it's for self or other people, whether it's towards God. But if people can understand what the Bible says, more than seeking the fire, it's following the one who contains the fire, which is God. And what he says about us is most important, whether you feel it or not. So there's an exercise I always tell people to do. Whenever you're feeling depressed, whenever you feel condemned, whenever you feel like it's not enough, does the Bible say that? That's all it is. Does the Bible say that? So I'm sitting here, water and wine. There's a Cana, the wedding at Cana. It's the first miracle that Jesus performs. There's waters filled in 6 water pots, and they're running out of wine. So they need wine. Jesus literally goes, draw and serve. In a simple form, he goes, this is wine. In my experience, in the servant's experience, it's water. They touch it, water. Taste it, water. Everything about them is saying, this is water. But Jesus goes, not only is this wine, best tasting wine. Who's right? Jesus. In the same stroke, I feel depressed. But Philippians 4:4 says, I'm rejoicing always. I'm happy all the time. Why? Because Jesus will never leave me nor forsake me. The issue is feelings. It's this feeling of, I need this situation to match, confirm it, and then package it as faith. That's not faith. If I'm sitting here and I'm saying, that the light's on here, we don't need faith for that. If you're like, bro, it's pitch black, now I'm going to look at you funny. Like, what are you talking about? I would need faith to believe that, right? So, and the Bible explains this very exclusively. Black and white, no gray area. Without faith, it is impossible to please God. But we're trying to find our way to manufacture the faith that would please God because it pleases us first, right? And so in this way, we have to realize, oh, I'm a person that I can't trust what I see. The whole point of any miracle is don't trust what you see. Peter started to sink when he took his eyes off of the author and the finisher of faith, Jesus, meaning he saw the situation. Oh my gosh, this is the sea. Oh my gosh. Then he started to sink. In the same way, we're doing that too. God doesn't say, Grant, that you're a horrible son. He says, you're my son. The prodigal son, he uses all these parables to say, I love you, I care about you. But the issue is our thoughts, without even realizing it, feelings, emotions take precedence. But I don't feel that though. I've been taught this, and I think foundationally people don't teach that anymore. That not every feeling you have is true. Not every thought you have is true. Like, we understand, I think, on a hypothetical, like theoretical level, but at the same time, we don't really, but there's no one that I at least know that's teaching you really take every thought. He doesn't say just some, not evil. Every single thought means all thoughts captive. Now, if I'm not reading the Bible, how can I? Right? So there's another thing with like Holy Spirit. People go, the Spirit told me this. But all it is feelings. And what I mean by that is, if the Spirit is called the Spirit of truth, and in John 16 and 14, he says, the Spirit of truth, when it comes, will remind you of me, and it will lead you to all truth. Now, we know in John 14:6, it says, I am the way, Jesus, the life, the truth. So if Jesus, Holy Spirit, leads you to Jesus, it doesn't end there, because Jesus is John 1:14, the word that was made flesh. So when people say, Holy Spirit told me, but have no scripture to back it up, red flags and alarms go off, because I'm like, scripturally speaking, Just like Jesus quoted scripture, Paul, everyone else, you have to be able to bring the scripture up here.
Yeah.
You know? And so I think that's the center line. But somehow I'm noticing in churches a lot, and there's no disrespect to them, there's more of a feeling, well, God told me this and it made sense and it healed people when I followed it, so it must be from God. Right, but we understand that Satan can counterfeit. We understand that Satan is also a person who's an angel of light who's transformed in 2 Corinthians 11:14. He can bless, he can do a lot of things, he can shapeshift, all this stuff. But people don't think about that anymore. It's more of like, my feelings have become my God. And that's such a scary thing. Right? Satan is more comfortable in the church nowadays than he is in the world because he has everybody in the world. He was raised in heaven. People don't understand that. He was a Nakashim Seraphim. He was a seraphim that was, a guardian to the throne. So he knows the word better than anybody.
Yeah.
The only difference with him is he has no surrender.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas we're called to surrender to the word. And that is the foundation between a person who's godly and a person who's demonic. They don't have to be all Satan worshipers. It's a person who, when presented with the word, are we going to surrender to that? Are we going to take our own interpretations, right? Satan never surrendered to the word.
Yeah.
He always utilized it, weaponized it, and then was like, this is what the word says, to like better himself.
I think if I acknowledge where I stand spiritually right now,
yeah,
and you put me before the throne of God.
Yeah.
And I'm standing before him. And my hope is that I'd hear the words, well done, good and faithful servant, that he'd look at me and he'd say, good enough.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you.
Could you just talk to people that probably feel a sense of they're Pharisees?
Yeah.
And so therefore, what is called upon them, what they need to do to actually turn around and realize, you need to take hold of the truth.
Yeah.
And not just hold it too lightly.
That's easy. So, right, if you think about this, doing good works is great. You know, we're not against works. Faith without works is dead, as it says in the Bible. Not a problem. But I just have one question for the people who are Pharisees here. If you pray well, you keep the commandments, you tithe, you fast, you do it all, but Jesus Christ doesn't die on the cross and shed his blood, can you get to heaven? Right? In this same way, a lot of people are stuck in this obedience. If that's the case, then Buddhists have to get to heaven too. They do more works than we do. Humanitarians, philanthropists, you name it. Right? So it's okay to be boastful about the work, but the work is found in John 6:29. It's Jesus. This is the work of God, and believing in the one whom he hath sent. That's it. So if you, it says in the Bible very clearly, without the shedding of blood, there is no remission of sins. Romans 6:23 says, for the wages of sin is death, not good works, right? If you've sinned, and we all have, all of you guys know this, it's not good works. It's not crying in obedience. It's not conviction that will save you. It is literally the blood of Jesus Christ. That's simple, right? And so it's okay. What I say is, we keep the commandments not to be saved. We keep the commandments because we're saved.
Talk to me about this.
Yeah.
I'm selfish here. I want to be the avatar in this.
Yeah.
Because I think I would love to walk out of this conversation with an ounce of the zeal that you have for Jesus. Because I know that that's a requirement to do the things I need to do if I want to actually spread this to more people.
Of course.
I'm scared that I'm going to go through a bunch of stuff and I'm going to do a lot of good things, but people won't know Jesus because of me.
Yeah.
I'm scared of that.
I understand. Like I said, Grant, we have to really accept what the Bible says about us. It's confusing in one way. He says that there's none righteous, no, not one. And then in the same stroke, there's people like Job, who he says is perfect. There's no one perfect. And then there's Enoch, who didn't taste death because he was perfect, right? So it starts with first heart, second heart. And what I mean by that is he gave us a heart originally that was evil, right? And then in Ezekiel 36, he tells us he renews our heart and gives us a new spirit when we're born again. So your issue, I would say, your challenge is not that, you're living in a gray area or even that you're lukewarm. The problem is, I'm a good person. How do I take myself out of this. That's what it is. How do I do better? Right? But that is, in a way, can be a fair cycle mindset, not for bad, because a lot of them want to do good. But the issue is when you realize there is no good in me aside from Jesus Christ. So then you will stop taking the credit for everything, good or bad is what I'm saying, right? So even with my life, I thought it was horrible to go to prison. I thought it was horrible to be sexually assaulted as 12 years old by a 17-year-old woman. Like I thought all of that was bad. And yet, when I look at my life now, oh my gosh, Lord, you've literally had your pen in you're writing it for me. Like all the people dying, all these things happening in my life, it's you. So now how I take challenges is not, what do you want me to do, God? It's more of, oh, I'm going to see what you're going to do with this. So we plan boldly, we surrender daily. That's what I say. Plan boldly, but surrender the outcome to God. Hey, Lord, you know my heart. What I know about myself may be accurate or not. There's a reason why you said you'll make all my crooked paths straight. So that's what you have to believe by faith. Hey, I'm going to be ambitious. I'm going to start these podcasts. Lord, I still believe you're going to lead me. If I need to go to the right and I'm going left, you're going to correct me. I can't do it. In this way, you not only move with boldness, Grant, you move with humility. 100%, right? And so that's how I'm able to move, is I go, I'm free. God didn't save me to walk on eggshells. He made me realize, hey, Johnny, you're free. I'm going to help you. All things I'm going to turn for the greater good. It's either a lesson or a blessing. That's what I always say, genuinely. And so if you move that way, Grant, I guarantee you, bro.
Break this down. It's either a lesson or a blessing.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
So if let's say you start a business, we kind of spoke a little bit, I won't name drop who it was, but okay, you signed this contract with this company, let's say, right, in real time. And God goes, this isn't what I want Grant to do. I can see that Grant wants this though, because, he wants to provide for his family, as he said, get him out the hood, et cetera, et cetera. But in this, there will be a lesson for Grant. He will gain something out of this. That in itself is the blessing. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because as we grow, because I understand why I understand why you wouldn't, or anyone else, want to go through any pain and hardship. No one wants that. And no one wants to do it also being disobedient to God. But sometimes God allows us to be disobedient. For what? To learn that lesson, right? So when you think about just working out, you're working out, and like if you just do 5-pound weights all day, it's not going to do anything. You have to tax the muscle. There has to be resistance here, right? And the soreness and the DMOS and all the stuff that you get, the lactic acid buildup, it's painful. But afterwards, it becomes stronger, right? To say, hey, I don't want to feel pain, I don't want to have failure anymore, is literally to say, I don't want to grow with you, God, anymore. I don't want to grow anymore. Just keep me here. And God is never going to allow you to do that, right? Because he loves you. And so when you move forward with that, you'll have this mindset. That's how I move. Wow, God, this is tough right now. I'm feeling some kind of a heart right now, maybe some condemnation. But I don't look at it like that anymore. I see it as, dang, God, you're going to work. Like when I feel the resistance, there is something that you're going to gain. I'm going to gain out of this. I don't know what it is. And I'm not going to add my extras on it. I'm just going to see you work, and you'll see how much God goes, okay, Grant has the right heart posture so that it can be blessed, and I'm happy with it, and I'll give it to you. From our business, it's the same thing. I started just preaching the gospel. Jeremy, Aaron, all these people that I have in my team, I went from a year and a half ago to just me by myself doing whatever it is that I was doing, preaching. From a year and a half now, we have 33 people in our company, right? And they're all saved. They're all preaching the gospel. They're all helping me, and it's an amazing thing, right? And so how did that happen? By trusting God. Hey, God, look, I don't know. I'm just going to preach the gospel. I may get high-hearted. You'll teach me there. I may get arrogant because I'm getting millions and millions of views, but you'll teach me there too. I'm not a person who can manage my life. That's why I have to lean on you.
Yeah.
You're the one who manages my life. And so I think in that way, Grant, you can take from that and go, you know what? I'm going to be me regardless. Because when people ask me these questions, like, how do I surrender? I always kind of like have to take it with a grain of salt, because it's like the whole point of surrender is you can't do it. Like it's like asking, how do I get knocked out by Mike Tyson? right? It's like, do I lean my head this way? It's like, you're going to get knocked out. You're going to get laid out. And that's what surrender is. You give up, right? Surrender is giving up. Oh, I can't do it, right? And then moving, of course, you have to plan, right? As it says in Luke, what does a person build without planning, right? They have to plan, but surrendering the outcome. Okay, God, I'm going to do this. I want my family out the hood. How much do you want them out the hood? How much do you want to hold our marriage together? Because this is covenantal to you. We're honoring you in this thing. So what is it that, if we have disagreements, Lord, you handle it. I can't do it. And this is how you lean on him. But a lot of people, they don't do that.
Yeah.
They're kind of like, well, God told us it. So we need it's like very prescriptive instead of like descriptive. Right.
What do you say to people that they don't listen to the call to go forth and make disciples?
Yeah.
That they're content to keep their faith and practice their faith. And they think, I have to go to church on Sunday to embody my faith.
Yeah.
But they don't, they've never evangelized to another person ever before.
I think they have to think about God's heart. That's why I said it also comes down to thinking about what God wants. So why I evangelize, I deal with all kinds of people, right? Millions of people, genuinely. And why I don't stop and draw back, it's not because I'm strong. It's not because I'm faithful. Many times I have thoughts, oh, maybe I'm giving too much of myself. Maybe I might burn out spiritually. But I think about it. What would God want in this? If somebody like Pastor Kim didn't have the heart to evangelize to me, would I be here where I'm at? And that gives me the strength to move forward. When you take yourself out of it, it's kind of similar. I mentor women who were crack addicts, drug addicts, women who were OnlyFans models. And when they have a baby, they stop. It's why? Because they're thinking about somebody other than themselves. Do you understand? In the same way, I do the same. We're all called to do the same. Yeah, if you're thinking about yourself, of course you're going to sit there. You're going to be like, wow, I'm on an island. It's great. God's blessing me. I got a church. We're here. We're a sending church though, meaning we send disciples. We create disciples, right?
Yeah.
That's just what Core of the Heart does. Not everyone's like that. And that's okay. I'm not saying this to, invalidate people's calling.
Yes.
But the issue here is if you were to think about God and you were to think about that one person that you want to reach.
Yes.
Why wouldn't you? Right. And it's not like imposing, it's inviting. Right. What I've learned is in order to evangelize, people think that they have to be the best gospel preacher. They have to know their stuff. No, if you can sit there and just talk about what God did for you 9 times and without imposing and just inviting, using questions like, hey, I'm thankful that you shared, your depression with me. Can I share with you something that helped me out of my depression? It's an invitation versus, oh, well, Jesus can fix that. It's like so different than, do you understand? And so I think if you're, number one, if you think about other people first and you think about God helping you, right? If you want to be selfish, think about how God helped you. How could you not evangelize? It's just, there's no way. There's something
Johnny,
in
my
you.
story is so lame. My testimony is so lame. I was a guy that grew up in the church.
Yeah, that's okay. I have so many people that grew up in the church too, and they share the same thing. Although you can hear me and you're, hearing this, I think you would also, if you had somebody come to you and go, and said the same thing you said, Grant, genuinely was like, hey, I'm a PK and I'm doing this and I feel that right there, you'd connect. Oh my goodness. You know what? I feel exactly the same too. I feel like I'm low in my faith. It's not like it's weak, but it's this feeling of, you'd be like, whoa, you know what? Like, this guy gets it. Hey, Grant, can I share with you how I got out of that? You would for sure listen to him and you'd be like, oh, wow. And you may gain a lot from them. So again, it's this preconceived notion, this expectation that's like, we have to have the perfect testimony. We have to be super relatable to people. No, you don't know how many people you can touch just by having that. A lot of my congregation, I would say more than half, a lot of them are pastors' kids or were, an elder's kid or a deacon's kid, priest's kid. Like, it's because, and they left the church because of it. They didn't have that they didn't have that experience that you had where it's like your dad's your best friend. No, it was the opposite. I have a guy tatted down head to toe. You went to prison, everything, straight up pastor's kid. And I was like, what? And then recently he reconciled with his father too and learned a lot from me and spoke to his dad, took how I forgave my dad and applied it to him. It was a beautiful thing. And it's like, you just never know, bro. You never know. But it's that, like I said, Satan stops us with the thought process.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't have a good enough testimony. See, you're living lukewarm, so you can't even explain to people. Like, you got to clean up before you go out there and do that, because you're hypocritical. You don't want to misrepresent Jesus. You don't want to misrepresent God, right? But it's like all of that, at the fruit of it and the root of it is, and foundation is, don't preach the gospel. That's what it is at the end of the day. Right? It stops you from preaching the gospel. Right? And so, yeah.
This is my last question. If there was one thing you'd want people to walk away with from your story, there's one thing that you want people to remember, what is it?
There's no one that's too far gone from God. But I think the same God that helped me is your God too. We have the same Father. So I want people to realize that, if they can have faith that, man, Johnny can change, like, why can't you change? And it's just a simple 3 steps. It's making God a habit in your life, essentially. And that's why we, created our apps, and we do our devotionals and do these lives and do these podcasts. Number 1. Number 2 is distrusting your thoughts, because you can't trust your thoughts when God says, my thoughts are not your thoughts, my way is not your way, and then trust his thoughts too, right? And trust his word. It's going to get convoluted. And the last thing is, God loves you. If he didn't love you, he wouldn't wake you up. He wouldn't give you the things that none of us deserve. Truthfully, and I don't say this, and I don't want to be like extremist about it, but if you think about it, in 100 years, none of us are going to be here. Why? Because of death. But why do we have death? Because that's what we deserve. He doesn't promise you a big house. He doesn't promise you a fat bank account. He doesn't promise you even a spouse or children. I mentor a lot of people who've done in vitro things like that. God has just not given them that blessing. But what he does give us, and what all of us are going to get, is death, right? And so I think what's beautiful is, man, I deserve death. And when you realize I deserve that, then everything becomes a blessing. From the extremities that you have to, you being able to walk, breathe, talk, do these podcasts, whatever it is, having kids, whatever, it's all a blessing. Because how can you appreciate health without having sickness? How can you appreciate wealth without being poor in poverty? How can you appreciate these things, right? And I think of Satan all the time. Is he had everything in heaven, no sin, no heartache, no nothing, and yet all that did legit was make him a spoiled brat. Bro, I want the throne. Like, bro, you have everything. You're beautiful. You're wise. You're famous. Essentially, everyone knows you. And the only thing you don't have is my throne. I want that too. In the same way, your gratitude will affect your attitude. It's so true. If I sit here and I'm like, I deserve this, nothing is going to make me happy until I get it.
Yeah.
And so this is kind of what I want people to know, is just please remember, God can change your life. But the one thing you have to realize is, I'm a person that I don't deserve anything. Then the change comes from that, because when God gives you everything, right, then you're like thankful for it all. Even the small things, running water. I went to Liberia, Africa, and I've done these missionary trips, and they don't even have running water, no electricity, nothing. But like, you won't see that, right, unless you live that. I go to these prisons, and a person can't even go out and get a bottled water. And one of the inmates at Polunsky unit was like, bro, can you give me a water bottle? I'm like, I felt so sad. Man, I can go and buy sparkling water, glass water, microplastics, whatever. They're like locked into this thing. And so these little things, if we tend to forget. And it's the same with salvation. It's the same with condemnation and conviction. You guys are not sinners trying to be better through the sanctification process. We are perfected saints through Jesus Christ, who forget our new identity and go back to the old identity. That's what it is. Because Jesus didn't fail. He died 2,000 years ago for our sins. And genuinely, that's something that it mind boggles us, because we're like, well, I'm still sinning and messing up. So it's just, we're trusting ourselves.
Yeah.
So I really want people to walk away with these lessons of, don't trust yourself. God loves you even when you do those things, and is all day opening his arms to for us to come back to him through repentance and faith. And then also realize that he can work, and he is working. You know, he's working. People are always like, oh yeah, I don't hear God anymore. I used to hear him all the time. I don't hear him anymore. No, when God is silent, it means he's focused. He's working now. He's doing stuff. But people are like, no, I need to hear him. I need to see him my way. Lead me. I want him to lead me my way. I really hope that people can see through this that, you know, if a gang member like me, genuinely, who grew up with nothing but compounded trauma and like been shot, been stabbed, shot people, stabbed people, if I can go from that to having full peace with God, and this is years, I didn't just start doing this. I just started doing the podcasting, but I've been doing this for 10 years now. Then why can't God help you? You know, I say that to everybody, my Catholic brothers, Orthodoxy, whoever. God is really powerful. Even me, I can't fathom how powerful and how transformative he really is, how much he can reconcile, how much he can fix things that are super broken. It's just difficult to grasp for the finite human mind because he's infinite.
Yeah.
And so I really want people to know you're righteous, you're perfected through Jesus Christ, genuinely, not of your own works, not of you, and that God will work. He has to. He has to work. That's his specialty. And I hope we can believe that, even in the tough times.
Johnny, thank you, man. Appreciate you.
Thank you, bro.
Until next time.